Chapter 1021. Lu Pingan breaks through foundation establishment, the meaning of cultivation. Chapter 1021. Chapter 363. Lu Pingan breaks through foundation establishment, the meaning of cultivation. This is the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus? Xianxia arrived at Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven, and looking at the lotus in the spiritual spring, which was crystal clear and had a jade-like luster, she couldn't help but exclaim. She looked at Lu Changxing with suspicion in her beautiful eyes, wondering what was going on. Although there was definitely more than one Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus in the cultivation world, the lotus before them in terms of age and size, closely resembled the one taken from the Tianyuan secret realm by Black Crow True Immortal. At this moment, Lu Changxing bringing her to the cave heaven made her suspect that this was the very lotus taken by Black Crow True Immortal. But this lotus was clearly taken by Black Crow True Immortal. Neither her senior sister nor the Supreme Elders had managed to retrieve it, so how could it appear in Lu Changxing's possession? It seems that this Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus indeed came from the secret realm you were exploring, Xiu. Lu Changxing remarked with emotion. He hadn't expected that the spiritual object he had acquired inadvertently had actually come from the secret realm Xianxia had been busy with all these years. Immediately he explained the details about the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus to Xianxia. Upon hearing that her daughter had been captured by Black Crow True Immortal, Xianxia felt a chill of fear and looked at her daughter with concern. Wangshu, are you all right? Mother, I have been fine for a long time. Lu Wangshu responded in such a manner. Then with a face full of fear and grievance she said, Luckily father arrived in time, that nasty old man, Wangshu. Hearing this, Xianxia immediately embraced her daughter, feeling guilty and heartbroken. She hadn't expected her daughter to encounter such life-threatening danger while she was away. But this news also amazed her immensely. Lu Changxing had actually killed Black Crow True Immortal. It was known that this Black Crow True Immortal was no ordinary being. He came from a dominant power in the cultivation world of Liang Country, Beast God Mountain. Although he was only at the initial stage of core formation, he was an experienced core formation cultivator and his combat power was formidable. Especially in escaping, he was unmatched. This Devil Path True person was heavily injured at the time, and I seized the chance to slay him when he was unprepared. Seeing Xiaoxia's puzzled look, Lu Changxing explained. Changxing Wangshu, you must not let anyone else know about this. Xiaoxia immediately instructed them seriously. Now that the matter of the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus had been settled, with Qingyun sect believing that some major power was involved, if Qingyun sect knew that Black Crow True Immortal was slain by Lu Changxing, it would surely bring endless troubles and draw the attention of the four great immortal sects of Jianghu country. I understand. Lu Changxing naturally did. He shared the information about the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus with Xiaoxia because he trusted her and through her, aimed to gain understanding of the matters at hand. Afterward, Xiaoxia disclosed the news about Black Crow True Immortal. Black Crow True Immortal, Beast God Mountain. Lu Changxing's eyebrows rose slightly. He had heard about the Beast God Mountain force in his early years. The sect mainly practiced beast taming, but unlike the spirit taming sect or the beast taming Su family, it focused on integrating demon beasts into one's body and cultivating through them. The specifics, however, were unclear to Lu Changxing. Liang country is so far from Jianghu country. Why would Black Crow True Immortal travel all the way here and appear in the Luoyun mountain range secret realm? Lu Changxing found it strange. Liang country was bordered by Yu country and Wu country, forming a tripartite stand. Although travel for nascent soul immortals was convenient, the journey from Liang country to Jianghu country was still extremely long. I'm not sure, it might be related to the wars between Yu country and Liang country. Xiaoxia shook her head. Although she was almost involved in the high ranks of Qingyun sect, she was after all still a foundation establishment cultivator and could not know much about the matters at the nascent soul level. Lu Changxing nodded, then turned his attention to Xiaoxia's condition. Xiaoxia mentioned that she had gained quite a lot from this trip to the secret realm and would spend the next period in closed-door cultivation at the sect. If Lu Changxing had any matters, he could find her at Qingyun sect. As for the Tianyuan secret realm, due to the issue with Black Crow True Immortal, it was now controlled jointly by the four great immortal sects, and she was unclear about the specific arrangements. Xiu, can you still get the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus? Lu Changxing asked Xiaoxia. The Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus, though average in effect, once elevated to the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus, its value and effects were entirely different. It could not only serve as the treasure of spiritual springs, the treasure of the void and a second Dantian, but it could also be used to cultivate the heavenly longevity technique. Having learned that the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus came from the Luoyun mountain range secret realm, Lu Changxing naturally wanted to know if Xianxia could bring back some more. After all, with the Myriad Spirits bottle, given enough time, he could cultivate multiple Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus plants. Later, with the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus, the spiritual energy in Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven could directly reach the third rank. Even possibly, in the future, every genius in his family could have their own second Dantian. Changxing, do you need the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus? Xianxia was surprised. Lu Changxing now already had a Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus, which would completely make the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus unnecessary. Although the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus had effects similar to those of the spiritual origin pearl, its cost-effectiveness was completely incomparable. She would give the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus to Lu Changxing as a gift, solely because it had nice effects and could be kept in Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven as a decoration. Yes, I have an exotic treasure that accelerates the growth of spirit plants. So I was thinking of trying to cultivate a few Tianyuan Supreme King Lotuses. Lu Changxing said with a light laugh, candidly. Although the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus is easy to keep alive, it grows very slowly. To advance to Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus would take at least a few thousand years, Xianxia said softly. Qingyun sect had not harvested the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus initially because the Tianyuan secret realm was extremely suited for its growth. Once transplanted and harvested, allowing the treasure lotus to continue growing would be difficult. You'll just give it a try. Lu Changxing laughed. If it's too troublesome, then never mind. The secret realm is now under the control of the 4 great immortal sects. I'll ask my senior sister about the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus later, to see if it's possible to exchange it for contributions. Chapter 1022. Lu Pingan breaks through foundation establishment, the meaning of cultivation. Chapter 1022. Chapter 363. Lu Pingan breaks through foundation establishment, the meaning of cultivation. Xiao Shiyu fell into a slight reverie before speaking. Shiyu, it's okay, don't force yourself. Lu Changxing spoke up. Knowing about the heavenly origin precious lotus, Xiao Shiyu would find it difficult to obtain. Xiao Shiyu stayed at Bai Lake Mountain for a month before returning to Qingyun sect. During this time, aside from spending time with her daughter, Lu Wangshu, she practiced the Sun-Moon Samsara technique while playing music with Lu Changxing. Lu Changxing also tried to have Xiao Shiyu and Lu Miaoge cultivate the Sun-Moon Samsara technique with him. As for Ling Zixiao, Xiao Shiyu and Ling Zixiao were not yet familiar with each other. Thus they could only proceed slowly and gradually. Otherwise, Lu Changxing thought that since Xiao Shiyu had a moonlight spirit body and Ling Zixiao a dragon roar physique, their dual cultivation would certainly be effective. Hey yo hey yo hey yo. One day Lu Changxing came to the Lu family mansion and saw his daughter, Lu Lingyi, practicing her punches and kicks in the backyard. Though she looked adorable with her carved doll-like features and twin buns, her punches and kicks were executed with a vigorous flair. Yet her immature shouts scattered that aura. Xiaohe, what are you doing? Lu Changxing couldn't help but smile at his daughter's adorable antics. Daddy, this is the bull demon great strength fist I learned today. Lu Lingyi crisply said, striking a pose. She was already of the age to attend school. She had become very interested in martial arts after seeing some at the school recently. Oh, the bull demon great strength fist, come on, let daddy see how well you've learned? Lu Changxing chuckled and gestured for her to come closer. Daddy, take this punch, hey? Lu Lingyi shouted loudly and aimed a flying kick at her father. Yet, before she even reached Lu Changxing, she fell down with a plop. Lu Changxing? He had actually thought his daughter had learned something. This one doesn't count. Lu Lingyi didn't cry or fuss but stubbornly got up quickly, wrinkled her nose, looked up and said. Then she shouted, hey yo, and charged toward Lu Changxing again, shouting bull demon head chomp. Lu Changxing twitched the corner of his mouth and raised his hand to hold back his daughter's forehead. Bull demon head chomp. Bull demon hoof stomp. Lu Lingyi stubbornly pushed forward, swinging her little fists wildly but could not touch Lu Changxing at all. Sigh. Lu Changxing shook his head, then picked up his daughter and said, all right, it's time to eat. Is it mealtime already? Lu Lingyi showed a happy smile, slightly out of breath, and holding her father's hand she said, Daddy, when I've eaten and grown up, he'll be able to punch you. All right, eat a lot then. Lu Changxing rubbed his daughter's hair bun. Okay, I'll eat 3 bowls. And I finished the candy you gave me too. Lu Lingyi continued. Good, Daddy will give you another jar later. Lu Changxing said indulgently. Time swiftly passed, and a year went by with winter yielding to spring. The vigorous demon subjugation order in the Jianghu country cultivation realm was gradually coming to an end. During this period, many demonic and robber cultivators were struck down. But this also led to many demonic and robber cultivators retaliating against marketplaces and family forces, plundering them. Red Leaf Valley Market had been attacked by demonic cultivators half a year ago, leaving Lu Yuanzhong severely injured. If not for the talismans given by Lu Changxing, Lu Yuanzhong might have died there. Thus, in the following time, Lu Miaoge also went to Red Leaf Valley Market to maintain order, to prevent any miscreants from causing trouble. In those times, Bai Lake Mountain was very peaceful, with no incidents occurring. As usual, Lu Changxing conducted alchemy, talisman making, artifact refining, and spent time with his wives and children. In this year, Lu Changxing only had 3 more children. But the third generation of the Lu family had already unknowingly surpassed 400 members. Yet the system had not granted any subsidiary money. It is worth mentioning that not long ago, Xia Ziyu's brother, Xia Zhaoyang, achieved foundation establishment. He came to Bai Lake Mountain to pay his respects and invited Lu Changxing and her sister to Qingyun's sect to join in his minor celebration. When they arrived at Qingyun's sect for the celebration, Lu Changxing and Xia Ziyue learned news. Xia Zhaoyang, due to his commendable performance during the demon subjugation missions, caught the eye of a false core elder of the enforcement hall. With this breakthrough in foundation establishment, he became an executor in the enforcement hall. Although just a junior executor, it was still a significant position. His future status in Qingyun's sect would be much higher than that of cultivators like Zhao Qingqing. Afterward, Lu Changxing accompanied the siblings to pay homage to their father. Xiaolong, Dad, my husband has been very good to me, and now both Xiaoyang and I have achieved foundation establishment. You can rest in peace. Xia Ziyue and Xia Zhaoyang knelt before their father's tombstone. Xiaolong, coming from a loose cultivator background, now had both children achieve foundation establishment. Indeed, he could rest in peace. After all, such a feat, let alone in a loose cultivator, even in an energy refining family, it would be considered as the ancestral grave emitting a bluish smoke. When Lu Changxing and Xia Ziyue returned to Bai Lake Mountain, they received a message from their son Lu Pinggan. He shared that he had reached perfected qi refinement and was ready for foundation establishment. Normally, given Lu Pinggan's cultivation speed, he should have reached perfection long ago. But due to switching to practice the Black Dragon Codex, anchoring in White Tiger Mountain, and strengthening his foundation, quite some time was consumed. Zishao, Pinggan has sent a letter preparing for foundation establishment, so you will need to head to White Tiger Mountain to hold the fort for the time being. Having read the letter, Lu Changxing found Ling Zishao and spoke. Now as the demon subjugation order neared its end, they still couldn't neglect the issues caused by demonic and robber cultivators. Previously, with Lu Pinggan and the 9 Netherhound holding the fort, he had been very reassured. But now that Lu Pinggan would return to Bai Lake Mountain for foundation establishment, someone naturally needed to hold the fort at White Tiger Mountain. Chapter 1023. Lu Pinggan's Breakthrough in Foundation Establishment, the Meaning of Cultivation. Chapter 1023, Chapter 363. Lu Pinggan's Breakthrough in Foundation Establishment, the Meaning of Cultivation. All right. Ling Zixiao nodded in agreement after hearing this. Although there were quite a few foundation establishment cultivators at home, Lu Miaoge was presiding over the Red Leaf Valley Market now. Lu Miaohuan, Lu Miaoyun and Chu Jinjin could not leave. Li Xingrua, Xia Zizhu, and Bai Ling were not adept at fighting techniques, so she alone had to head to White Tiger Mountain. Soon after, Lu Changxing and Ling Zixiao went together to White Tiger Mountain. As for the Bai Lake Mountain side, Lu Changxing was rather at ease. After all, with so many foundation establishment cultivators at home and the Mount Sumeru Tree King overseeing, he could rush back in case of any emergency. Father, Aunt Lu Pinggan, Lu Qingsong, and others rushed to greet Lu Changxing as soon as they heard he was coming. Lu Changxing asked about the general situation at White Tiger Mountain and had his son Lu Qingsong hand over the Great Formation to Ling Zixiao. Then he took Lu Pinggan back to Bai Lake Mountain for foundation establishment. 2 months later, Lu Pinggan successfully achieved foundation establishment, forming the Black Dragon Dao Foundation. During the ritual of foundation establishment, which stripped away his mortal shell, Lu Pinggan's 100 refinements treasure body art broke through to the 7th layer. Immediately, Lu Changxing not only gained a dense surge of mana that advanced his cultivation level, but his 100 refinements treasure body art reached the peak of the 8th level. He was just 1 step away from breaking through the 3rd rank with his body refinement. He didn't even need Lu Pinggan's 100 refinements treasure body art to break through to the 8th level. As long as Lu Wangshu or he himself worked hard for a few years, his 100 refinements treasure body art was likely to break through to the 9th layer. Father. Lu Pinggan stepped out of the cabin, bowing respectfully to Lu Changxing. Having just achieved his breakthrough, he exuded an imposing aura, majestic and commanding. This was the effect of the Black Dragon Codex. The process of cultivation aimed at transforming into a true dragon had endowed him with a bit of dragon prestige. Lu Changxing, accustomed to seeing his son's gentle and tolerant demeanor, now found this new appearance slightly jarring. Good. Lu Changxing nodded and instructed Lu Pinggan to continue consolidating his realm. Yes. Lu Pinggan nodded and returned inside the cabin to consolidate his realm. Seeing his son enter the cabin, Lu Changxing was reminded of the time his wife, Lu Lanshu, was pregnant with this son. Though he had come to Qingzhou Mountain as a son-in-law without much affection arranged by the Lu family, the moment he learned he was to be a father, he felt an uncontrollable, heartfelt joy. He still remembered how anxious and nervous he felt outside the delivery room when Lu Pinggan was about to be born. Time flies, Lu Changxing remarked somewhat sentimentally. Over 40 years had passed, and he had transformed from a son-in-law in Qingzhou Mountain to a revered elder. His eldest son under his guidance had also progressed from a mortal with no spiritual root to a foundation establishment cultivator. A month later Lu Pinggan emerged from seclusion. His Bodhis mana aura was restrained, and the fierce and imposing demeanor had vanished. His originally regular facial features now had sharper contours. Your mother has always hoped you would succeed in cultivation. Now that you have achieved foundation establishment, you should inform her. Lu Changxing looked at his son, pleased with his appearance. It had been quite some time since he visited Rui Prefecture. Thinking that his son had just achieved foundation establishment, he decided it was a good opportunity to visit Rui Prefecture. Right. Lu Pinggan nodded upon hearing this. In earlier years he often returned to visit his mother, brother, and sister. But having been stationed at White Tiger Mountain in recent years, he had not been to Rui Prefecture for some time. With that, Lu Changxing and Lu Pinggan left by Lake Mountain, piloting the spirit boat toward Rui Prefecture. Lu Lanshu, Lu Qinger, and Lu Zier had been residing at by Lake Mountain. But perhaps ultimately due to the separation between immortals and mortals, the women felt somewhat ill at ease and moved to Rui Prefecture under the pretext of staying close to their children in the secular world. Father and son piloted the spirit boat to Rui County City. Lu Changxing thought back to his previous visits when his wives and children gradually aged, as his appearance seemed even older than his children, prompting a sigh as he gently touched his face. Instantly his youthful countenance aged, appearing around 50. But his eyes shimmered with the presence of an immortal, donned in a green magical robe, exuding an elegant and unworldly charm that made him stand out. Dad. Lu Pinggan paused when he saw Lu Changxing's action, tempted to imitate. You don't need to. Lu Changxing glanced at his son and simply advised. Both soared through the sky toward the Lu residence. Previously, Lu Changxing had Ling Zixiao set up a simple formation around the Lu residence to ward off petty thieves. However, such formations naturally had no effect on him. Lanshu. Lu Changxing softly called out to a woman in her 40s or 50s with a fair complexion, dignified and commanding, dressed in a deep turquoise palace dress, holding a civet cat in the backyard. Greetings, mother. Lu Pinggan stepped forward and bowed. Seeing his significantly aged mother, he felt a heavy heart. He knew that as humans aged, the effectiveness of elixir medicines like preserving youth pills and other age-defying pills would gradually weaken. Husband? Pinggan. Lu Lanshu showed a mix of surprise and joy upon seeing them. Not only surprised by Lu Chan. Chapter 1024. Lu Pinggan's Breakthrough in Foundation Establishment, The Meaning of Cultivation. _4 Chapter 1024. Chapter 363. Lu Pinggan's Breakthrough in Foundation Establishment, The Meaning of Cultivation. _4 Even though she had taken the preserving youth pills given by Lu Changxing, making her appear much younger than her actual age, there was still a pressure she felt in the presence of Lu Changxing. Hee, my return this time is to bring you some good news. Lu Changxing chuckled softly and spoke. Good news? Is it related to Pinggan? Lu Lanshu immediately looked at her son and guessed aloud. As Lu Changxing's wife, who had managed the secular Lu family in her earlier years, she was no ignorant woman. Pinggan. Lu Changxing prompted his son to speak for himself. Mother, I have recently broken through to the foundation establishment stage. Lu Pingan grinned at his mother as he spoke. From a young age, he knew that his mother had always hoped to give birth to a child with a spiritual root. She was overjoyed to the point of tears when she learned he possessed a spiritual root. Before he left for Jianghu Mountain, she constantly reminded him to listen to his father as well as Auntie Miaoga and Aunt Miao Yun, among others. Every time he returned home in his early years, his mother would inquire about his cultivation progress. Because in her heart all things were inferior, only cultivation was supreme. Now that he had broken through to foundation establishment, he had fulfilled one of his mother's wishes. Foundation establishment stage? Foundation establishment, Pingan, are you referring to the foundation establishment ancestors' level of foundation establishment? Upon hearing this, Lu Lanshu suddenly covered her mouth in astonishment, her face full of disbelief. Though she was a mortal, she was very clear about this common cultivation knowledge. She was still getting updates about the cultivation world from the Rui Marquis mansion, and she understood what foundation establishment represented. That was why she found it so unbelievable now. After all, there were not many foundation establishment ancestors throughout Jianghu Mountain and by Lake Mountain. And now, her son, at the age of 43, had become an exalted foundation establishment ancestor. Yes. Lu Pingan grinned as he replied. My son has actually broken through to foundation establishment. I've heard foundation establishment allows one to fly through the sky. Pingan, show your mother. Lu Lanshu was extremely excited and she lost her composure completely. Immediately, Lu Pingan levitated into the air with his mother, confirming this point, but Lu Lanshu still felt as if she were dreaming. Were it not for Lu Changsheng's instruction to keep the matter secret for now, Lu Lanshu would have wished to announce it to the entire family and tell everyone in the world that her son had broken through to foundation establishment. However, hearing that the matter concerned the family's future, she understood the gravity of the situation and promised not to reveal it. But Lu Changxing also stated that he would announce his son's breakthrough in a few years and hold a ceremony. After all, wealth and honor unacknowledged in one's hometown are like dressing in fine robes at night. He may not care for such things, but Lu Lanshu still wished to witness her son's foundation establishment celebration. After a brief explanation, Lu Lanshu notified the family that Lu Changxing and Lu Pingan had returned. Greetings, father, big brother, grandfather, uncle. Although many branches had split off from the secular Lu family as the main line in Rui County City, there were still many Lu family disciples at home. These people came one after another to greet Lu Changxing. Some came out of concern and longing for Lu Changxing as a father, and for Lu Pingan as a big brother, but most of the children, having been sent away from the secular world at a young age, rarely met and looked at Lu Changxing with a mix of awe and unfamiliarity. Lu Changxing, seeing this, let out a deep sigh, his heart growing increasingly sentimental. This was also the reason he seldom visited Rui Prefecture. Even though he believed his nature had become more indifferent over time, faced with this situation, he still couldn't help but sigh. After all, the birth of these children all included his personal desires and purposiveness. Although he could grant these children wealth and glory, he could not fully let go in his heart. Not just Lu Changxing but Lu Pingan too felt a heavy heart facing this situation. He deeply understood the meaning of the division between immortals and mortals. This was just between mortals and foundation establishment. If it were core formation, nascent soul, or the legendary divinity transformation, it would be akin to a chasm dividing heaven and earth. After all, a nascent soul immortal with a lifespan of 500 years could sit back and watch countless rises and falls. Father, without a spiritual root, is one unable to cultivate and embark upon the path to immortality? At night, after the family banquet, Lu Pingan looked at his father and spoke with a heavy heart. Today many of his younger brothers and sisters sought him out to catch up, but as they talked, he gradually fell silent. Man is the master of his fate. It may not be possible now, but it might be in the future. Lu Changxing spoke softly, able to understand his son's feelings. Man is the master of his fate. Upon hearing this, Lu Pingan clenched his fists. He had broken through to foundation establishment, but, apart from the case where his father had given him a spiritual root, he had never heard of such a thing happening. Many things might be beyond our ability now. But the meaning of cultivation lies in the fact that with enough strength, one can rectify regrets and achieve all that is wonderful. One day, if you become an immortal, perhaps with a flick of your fingers, you could enable mortals to cultivate or even revive those you cannot bear to lose from the river of time. Lu Changxing looked at the night sky as he spoke. People had to learn to console themselves. He was consoling himself in this way. One day, as long as he became an immortal, standing at the pinnacle of the immortal path, he could rectify all that was wonderful, leaving no regrets in life. And with the system at his side, he believed he could accomplish this. The meaning of cultivation, to rectify regrets and beauty. Lu Pinggan, hearing these words, gazed at the starry night sky and murmured to himself. After a moment he saw Lu Changxing leaving and, with a resolute clench of his fist, said, "Father, I understand." Chapter 1025. Dragon Roar Awakening, Becoming a Disciple of Hong Lian. Chapter 1025. Chapter 364. Dragon Roar Awakening, Becoming a Disciple of Hong Lian. By Yun Peak Alchemy Hall. 9 dragon heads spewed raging flames, above which a bronze cauldron was set. Spiritual liquid boiled inside the cauldron as Lu Changxing threw in various precious and valuable spiritual medicines, spirit fruits, monster cores, demon beast skeletons and more. He was preparing a medicinal bath for his son Lu Lingxiao and daughter Lu Lingyi. Ever since learning about the medicinal bath technique, he had wanted to give some of his talented children a medicinal baptism. However, previous baths, aside from those for Lu Wangshu and Lu Xingqian, were ordinary baptisms. The spiritual medicines and spirit stones used before didn't even compare to what he was using now. On the one hand, indeed, these 2 children had exceptional talents, and he wanted to give them a head start. On the other hand, this was also about the relationship with Ling Zixiao. After all, children with good talents, and those who were children of his Tao companion, would spend more time with him, so he was inevitably biased. As time passed, the spiritual liquid in the cauldron turned into a dark, thick and turbid color. Then Lu Changxing opened several porcelain bottles and poured them one by one into the cauldron. Buzz. At that moment the ancient beast-taming charm shimmered, and a faint figure appeared, looking sublimely beautiful, slender, noble and uniquely graceful. She cast spell after spell towards the bronze cauldron. Buzz buzz buzz. The cauldron immediately began to hum and tremble. The liquid inside roared and splashed, gleaming with a radiant light, making the phantom images of the 9 Netherhound, Heavenly Demon Phoenix, Iron-Eating Beast, and Mount Sumeru Tree King appear intermittently. The originally dark and viscous liquid gradually turned light gold, emitting a strong aromatic scent. "Young master, the elixirs are ready, you can enter the cauldron now." Hong Lian's voice was soft and pleasing. Lu Changxing nodded, looked towards his side and called out to his son, who was pursing his lips with bright eyes, "Shower." "Dad, am ready?" Lu Lingxiao nodded as he spoke. He was only 9 years old but looked as tall as a normal adolescent. Dressed in a cyan robe, his youthful face carried a hint of valor. Hearing Lu Changxing's words, he directly leaped into the boiling bronze cauldron. He knew that once he completed the medicinal bath baptism, he could begin cultivating. Hiss. As Lu Lingxiao entered the cauldron, his body instantly became scalding hot, and his skin turned red. He groaned softly. Although the medicinal bath was extremely hot, it would not scald anyone. Instead, it transformed into a surging force of medicinal power, cleaning and strengthening his body, limbs, bones and dantian. "Daddy, will brother get boiled?" Lu Lingyi, wearing a lotus dress and tying 2 buns, biting her fingers, looked at the bubbling bronze cauldron and spoke with fear. "Of course not, it's just like taking a bath. Xiaohe will grow up quickly after the bath. And the liquid inside tastes really good." Lu Changxing laughed as he heard his daughter's words. As children, the siblings grew up consuming various heavenly and earthly treasures, treating strengthening and essence-cultivating elixirs like candy. These elixirs and treasures might not be fully absorbed and used. This medicinal bath baptism not only helped them refine all the medicine power within their bodies but also improved their talents. Once the medicinal bath was over, both could begin cultivating directly. There was no need, like most children, to wait until 12 years old for their meridians and dantian to withstand nature's spiritual energy. "Xiaohe, it's okay." Ling Zixiao, who had been holding her daughter's shoulders, spoke softly. She fully understood how much Lu Changxing had spent on this cauldron bath. Not just nearly 100,000 spirit stones worth of heaven and earth spiritual materials. He also extracted essence blood from the 9 Netherhound, Heavenly Demon Phoenix, Cold Blue Dark Turtle, Iron-Eating Beast, Mount Sumeru Tree King and Abyssal Ghoul Blossoms. "Brother, are you getting cooked?" Lu Lingyi expressed disbelief and shouted loudly to her brother inside the cauldron. "No." Lu Lingxiao remained silent for a moment before gritting his teeth and uttering 2 words. "Daddy, mommy, brother seems getting cooked." Lu Lingyi immediately looked up and said. Seeing her daughters dilly-dallying and Hong Lian waiting by the side, Ling Zixiao directly clenched her teeth, picked her up and with a plop, threw her into the cauldron. Ah, daddy mommy, it's so hot. Unlike Lu Lingxiao, who held his breath and endured, Lu Lingyi immediately cried out in discomfort. Xiaohe, be good after the bath, you will grow up quickly. Lu Changxing immediately soothed her. Buzz. Hong Lian cast more spells into the bronze cauldron, causing the medicinal liquid to boil continuously and radiate luminous light. Young master, it's ready now. She spoke, and then her figure returned to the ancient beast taming charm. Without Su Rian, she could not stay away from the ancient beast taming charm for long, and casting these spells drained her significantly. Hong Lian, thank you for your hard work. Lu Changxing nodded as he spoke, holding the ancient beast taming charm in his palm. Daddy lied, the liquid doesn't taste good at all, it's so bitter. After a while, Lu Ling's face turned red as if she was drunk, and she said in grievance to Lu Changxing. Lu Changxing stayed silent for a moment, then a bottle appeared in his hand, and he poured out to strengthen the essence and cultivate the origin pills, shouting to his daughter in the cauldron, Xiaohe, open your mouth. Bio. After Lu Lingyi consumed the pills, she immediately shouted loudly, Daddy, I want to eat more. Seeing her husband feeding their daughter treats, Ling Zixiao wanted to say something, but was at a loss for words, only able to sigh with a hand on her forehead. And so, time passed bit by bit, the medicinal bath roared and boiled, luminescence surged, washing marrow and cleansing for the siblings, allowing them to undergo a transformative rebirth. Lu Lingxiao clenched his teeth and endured the medicinal bath baptism. Previously, Lu Wangshu told him the reason she was so impressive was that, during her medicinal bath baptism, she stayed fully conscious and completed the transformative rebirth. Chapter 1026. Dragon Roar Awakening, Becoming a Disciple of Hong Lian. Chapter 1026. Chapter 364. Dragon Roar Awakening, Becoming a Disciple of Hong Lian. And he was determined to surpass this older sister of his and suppress her, naturally not willing to be weaker than her. Lu Lingyi, however, had no idea when he had fallen into a deep slumber. Buzz. 2 days later, a vigorous and domineering aura suddenly emanated from Lu Lingxiao's body. Is this the Dragon Roar physique? Ling Zixiao sensed this familiar aura and abruptly turned her gaze toward her son, her face filled with surprise and astonishment. She had not expected her son to have the Dragon Roar physique just like herself. This made her ecstatic and overwhelmingly delighted. Her son, with a first-grade spiritual root and nurtured meticulously by herself and Lu Changxing, was destined for the core formation stage. Now seeing that her son possessed the Dragon Roar physique, she felt it was not just hopeful for core formation. Rather, it was a certainty that he would achieve core formation, and even had the potential to become a nascent soul true lord. Hm? The Dragon Roar physique has awakened? Lu Changxing paused, also somewhat taken aback by the surprise. He hadn't expected that, under the influence of the medicinal bath, his son's Dragon Roar physique would awaken. You must know, the Dragon Roar physique is a recessive spiritual body, which would gradually awaken as one grows and practices cultivation. His son was only 9 years old, not yet having started his cultivation journey. How could the Dragon Roar physique awaken so soon? However, the next moment Lu Changxing realized that it must be due to his son's Dragon Roar physique being incomplete. An incomplete Dragon Roar physique and therefore different from the norm. Not good. Lu Changxing immediately looked towards the bronze cauldron where his daughter Lu Lingyi lay unconscious, summoned his great hand of magical power and lifted her out. The early awakening of the Dragon Roar physique in his son was naturally a good thing. But if his daughter's Dragon Roar physique were to awaken early, that would not be good at all. The Dragon Roar physique was only suitable for the male body. If a daughter had the Dragon Roar physique, it would be a curse rather than a blessing. He hadn't yet perfected his yin-yang creation scripture, unable to completely resolve the issue of the Dragon Roar physique. Buzz. However, at this very moment, a fierce yet faint aura had already started to permeate from Lu Ling's body. How can this be? Ling Zixiao, upon seeing Lu Changxing's actions and still somewhat puzzled as to why he took the daughter out of the medicinal bath, abruptly sensed the familiar aura coming from her daughter's body, and her delighted expression instantly changed. She was naturally happy and thrilled that her son had the Dragon Roar physique. But if her daughter had the Dragon Roar physique, she could not be happy. She, herself, had the Dragon Roar physique and knew all too well how much trouble this spiritual body had caused her. During her Foundation establishment breakthrough, she almost died because of the outburst caused by the Dragon Roar physique. Had it not been for meeting Lu Changxing, she would have withered and died from the burning yang energy of the Dragon Roar physique, burning her meridians and dantian. Even now, she could only practice cultivation at a slow pace thanks to Lu Changxing's help in managing the Dragon Roar of yang energy within her body. The Dragon Roar physique, Honglian from within the ancient beast taming charm, was also surprised to see the condition of the siblings. Though she had long resided within the ancient beast taming charm, over the years she had tutored Lu Changxing's children and observed their conditions. She could clearly recognize that the Lu family disciples' talents were significantly improving, and also an early blood talisman spiritual body. Before that, a Gingjin body constitution returned home. Now suddenly 2 Dragon Roar physiques appeared. Although there was something off about these 2 Dragon Roar physiques, it was still astounding. Dragon Emperor body, is this the legendary Dragon Emperor body as terrifying as this? Honglian murmured to herself, her heart filled with astonishment and emotion. For a moment she couldn't help but look forward to what kind of talented offspring would be born after Lu Changxing's core formation, nascent soul and divinity transformation. Because as far as she knew, the higher the cultivation realm of the Dragon Emperor body, the more amazing the talents of the offspring born. However, the Dragon Emperor body should at least reach the core formation stage to increase the chances of his children having a spiritual body, right? The Lord is only at the Foundation establishment stage now. Even with the Dragon Emperor body, at most it would make it easier than other cultivators to have offspring with a spiritual root talent. It couldn't possibly involve spiritual bodies. Honglian was puzzled in her heart. However, thinking of the fact that the mysteries surrounding Lu Changxing had not only not diminished over the years but had become even more enigmatic, she did not measure him against common wisdom. After all, the Dragon Emperor body was just her guess. The situation of Lu Changxing, his constitution, might be similar to that of the Dragon Emperor body, but it could be even more astonishing. Moreover, even the same constitution might differ, not necessarily the same. Then Honglian's soul observed the condition of Lu Lingxiao and Lu Lingyi and spoke out, Lord, Lingxiao and Ling's Dragon Roar physiques must be with flaw, incomplete Dragon Roar physiques, which is why they awakened under the influence of the medicinal bath. She had provided the medicinal bath technique, so naturally she felt the need to give an explanation. I know. Lu Changxing nodded and said. He of course knew his children's Dragon Roar physiques were incomplete, both being incomplete spirit physiques. Lord, Ling Zixiao looked at Lu Lingyi and Lu Changxing's arms, biting her lip, her face full of heartache. This daughter of hers was not very clever to start with, and now, also burdened with the Dragon Roar physique, it made her heart ache beyond measure. It's okay, I was well aware of Xiaohe's Dragon Roar physique, I just didn't expect the medicinal bath to stimulate it and cause an early awakening. Zixiao, rest assured, once I finish my cultivation technique transformation, he'll be able to resolve your and Xiaohe's Dragon Roar physique. Lu Changxing held his daughter, reassuring his wife. If it had been before, he might have been worried about this situation. But now, as long as he completed his cultivation of the Yin-Yang Creation Classic, he could attempt to resolve the Dragon Roar physique. He might not be able to completely resolve it at the Foundation establishment stage, but as long as he achieved a breakthrough in core formation, he would have a 70 to 80% certainty. Lord, you can resolve it? Ling Zixiao immediately recalled Lu Changxing mentioning before that once he finished his transformation of the cultivation technique, he would have a way to resolve the Dragon Roar physique. Chapter 1027. Dragon Roar Awakening Becoming a Disciple of Honglian. Chapter 1027. Chapter 364. Dragon Roar Awakening Becoming a Disciple of Honglian. Just for a moment she was so anxious that she forgot about the issue. Of course, it was also because her subconscious assumed that the method her husband used to resolve the Dragon Roar physique issue relied on the Dragon Invocation technique, a dual cultivation technique. Alright, once I perfect my cultivation technique, I will be able to balance yin and yang, resolving the issue of the Dragon Roar physique. Lu Changxing nodded, infusing yin-yang magic power into his daughter's body to balance her Dragon Roar physique. Dat Mom, what's wrong with Xiaohe? At this moment, Lu Lingxiao, who was in the medicinal bath, opened his eyes, asking with some pain. Although the medicinal bath would not cause his body to explode and die, the baptism process was still very painful, causing one to easily fall unconscious. Xiaohe is not well and unsuited for the medicinal bath shower, concentrate on your baptism. Ling Zixiao spoke out, telling her son not to worry. Lu Lingyi in Lu Changsheng's embrace, somewhat groggily opened her sleepy eyes. But seeing herself lying in her daddy's arms, she immediately smacked her lips a few times and nuzzled her little head in Lu Changsheng's embrace before falling asleep again. It's alright, at most she'll start her cultivation a few years later, it won't have any impact. Lu Changsheng continued to reassure Ling Zixiao. Ling Zixiao nodded. Although Lu Changsheng said he could resolve his daughter's situation, seeing his daughter like this, she was still exceedingly heartbroken. A day later, Lu Lingxiao was lifted out of the bronze cauldron by Lu Changsheng. Following the medicinal bath baptism and the awakening of the dragon roar physique, he too fell unconscious. Lu Changsheng could clearly see that his son's fair skin was glowing, crystal clear and shiny, just like warm jade. The meridians and dantian not only flowed with pure and rich spiritual energy but were also filled with strands of intense dragon roar of yang energy. As long as this son began his cultivation, practicing yang attribute-based cultivation techniques would allow him to make rapid progress, advancing by leaps and bounds. Afterward, Lu Changsheng checked the status of his son's dragon roar physique. Just as I had guessed, Lu Changsheng narrowed his eyes slightly. Being a bearer of the dragon roar physique himself, he could clearly discern the differences within his son's dragon roar physique. Indeed, as he had previously conjectured, his son's dragon roar of yang energy lacked nourishment for the flesh and muscles. Overall, the effects were much worse than his own. But it could also be because his son was still young and had not started cultivation, so the full effects of the dragon roar physique had not been fully manifested. Regardless, Lingxiao's talent is destined to be extraordinary, and in the future he will become the mainstay of the Lu family. Lu Changsheng did not dwell on the matter too much. Even if his son did not possess the dragon roar physique, just having a first-grade spiritual root was already quite remarkable. Even if this dragon roar physique was incomplete, it would not be worse than a medium-grade spirit body, and it might even have the effects of a superior spirit body. Zixiao, I wish for Shower to take Senior Red Lotus as his master, what do you think? At this time, Lu Changsheng conveyed his thoughts to Ling Zixiao, inquiring. After obtaining the dragon roar physique, he knew that techniques related to yang, fire, and thunder elements were the most suitable for his son. The cultivation techniques he possessed at the moment were indeed not as fitting for Lu Lingxiao as Vermilion Bird Sky Scorching Art from Senior Red Lotus. Therefore he thought of allowing Lu Lingxiao to take Senior Red Lotus as a master to instruct him. Not only would he find a teacher for his son, but his bond with Red Lotus would also deepen. Having interacted for so long, Lu Changsheng still couldn't understand why Red Lotus, a nascent soul true lord, was so obedient to him. Although his charisma was not bad and he could reconstruct her physical body in the future, it shouldn't be to this extent, right? So, he also wished to further deepen their relationship. Taking Red Lotus as a master? Hearing this, Ling Zixiao immediately said, for Shower to take Senior Red Lotus as a master would be fantastic. Although Red Lotus showed no airs around Lu Changsheng, they still held great respect and reverence for her. If her son could take a nascent soul true lord as a master, she naturally saw it as a great opportunity. Good. Lu Changsheng nodded, looking towards the ancient beast taming charm and inquiring to Red Lotus, what do you think of Lingxiao? Lingxiao possesses a first-grade spiritual root and the dragon roar physique. Naturally, his talent is exceptional. Red Lotus perceived the implication in Lu Changsheng's words and replied thus. I mean to ask if you, Red Lotus, would be willing to take Lingxiao as a disciple. Lu Changsheng said thoughtfully. If it pleases you, Red Lotus is naturally willing. Red Lotus responded immediately upon hearing this. Although she did not have any intentions to take on disciples, Lu Lingxiao's talent wasn't enough to make her want to cherish him and take him as a disciple. But if Lu Changsheng was willing to entrust this son to her tutelage, taking her as a master, she was quite pleased. After all, the relationship between a master and disciple in the cultivation world is special, akin to that of parents and children. If she were to become Lu Lingxiao's Shermu, her relationship with Lu Changsheng would also grow closer. Alright, in that case, when Shower awakes, I will have him take you as a master. Lu Changsheng hearing this showed a faint smile on his face. 6 days later, Lu Changsheng received a message from Ling Zixiao, informing him that their son Lu Lingxiao had awakened. He couldn't help feeling sentimental that his son had slept for quite a while. You must know, his daughter Lu Wangshu only slept for 3 days and nights. However, considering that the medicinal bath he prepared was intended for 2 people, but as Lu Lingyi, due to the dragon roar physique, was removed halfway through, The rest of the medicinal bath was mostly absorbed and baptized by Lu Lingxiao alone, who awakened the dragon roar physique. So, it was normal for him to sleep a bit longer. He arrived at the courtyard and immediately saw Ling Zixiao talking with their two children, mother and son. "Mother, don't worry, I will definitely take good care of my sister," Lu Lingxiao said with a serious face. "My lord. Daddy?" Upon seeing Lu Changxing approaching, all three of them called out immediately. Chapter 1028. Dragon Roar Awakening Becoming a Disciple of Hong Lian. _4 Chapter 1028, Chapter 364. Dragon Roar Awakening Becoming a Disciple of Hong Lian. _4. Lu Changxing caught sight of his son Lu Lingxiao and paused. He noticed that his son's originally clear, distinct black and white eyes had turned a light golden color. In earlier years, he had noted that his son's eyes sometimes shimmered with a faint golden luster. But now they had completely changed to gold, like amber in the sunlight, giving off a divine and majestic aura. "My lord," Xiao's eyes turned this way after he woke up, but upon checking, I didn't find anything unusual. Ling Zixiao communicated to Lu Changxing telepathically, somewhat worried. "Hong Lian, do you know what this is about?" Lu Changxing held the ancient beast taming charm in his hand, turning to question Hong Lian. This could be due to the recent awakening of the spiritual body, or it could be because there is a flaw within the spiritual body. Hong Lian spoke softly. The spiritual body was truly mystical. Even as a nascent soul true lord, she found it difficult to fully understand the situation. Moreover, now that she was only a soul, she could not examine Lu Lingxiao's condition in detail. A flaw in the spiritual body. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing looked at his son and laughed. Xiao's eyes certainly are extraordinary and full of valor. In the future, upon seeing them, others will know that Lu Changxing has a Qilin son. He didn't feel much about these golden eyes. He just thought it was obvious that they were extraordinary and might easily cause trouble to arise. "Daddy, what about me? What about me?" Upon hearing this, Lu Lingyi immediately ran in front of Lu Changxing, puffing out her chest, urging her father to take a good look and praise her. "Haha, my Xiaohe is clever and lovely, innocent and carefree. Who wouldn't like her? Daddy loves Xiaohe the most." Lu Changxing, seeing his daughter's adorable manner, ruffled her hair bun and spoke with a laugh. After a pleasant family chat, Lu Changxing called out to Lu Lingxiao, "Xiao, come with me." Originally, he had planned to start both siblings on their cultivation journey together. However, due to the condition of his daughter Lu Lingyi, her cultivation had to be put on hold. After all, if his daughter started cultivating and it led to the awakening of the dragon roar physique, it would definitely cause some trouble. "Dad." Lu Lingxiao, hearing his father's words, promptly followed Lu Changxing into the hall. "You are about to begin your cultivation, and I have found you a master." Lu Changxing spoke, raising his hand slightly, and the ancient beast-taming charm shimmered, bringing forth the sacred and noble, ethereal figure of Hong Lian. Lu Lingxiao immediately looked at the figure standing before him, clad in splendid palace robes, with exquisite and stunning features and an intangible form. Seeing Hong Lian's crimson pupils, he thought of his own light golden eyes reflected in the mirror earlier and felt a sudden pause in his heart. "This is your master, Hong Lian." Lu Changxing turned to his son and said, "Go on, greet your master." Disciple Lu Lingxiao greets master. Lu Lingxiao immediately took a step back and knelt down to pay respects to Hong Lian, performing the grand gesture of acknowledging a master. Lu Lingxiao knew of the high and noble status of Hong Lian, as his mother Ling Zixiao had informed him earlier, aware that becoming her disciple would greatly help his future cultivation. "Good, from now on you are my disciple." Hong Lian accepted the homage with grace, her voice elegant and noble. Then, with a gentle lift of her hand, "Rise, I have no gift to give you, so I shall guide you in your cultivation instead." "Yes, master." Lu Lingxiao stood and responded. Following this, Hong Lian began to teach Lu Lingxiao cultivation. Often, those with good talent also possessed good comprehension. Under Hong Lian's guidance, Lu Lingxiao began cultivating within an hour. Even before he had absorbed any of nature's spiritual energy, the mere spiritual energy and dragon roar of yang energy surging within him allowed him to complete the channel qi into the body process. Moreover, both Hong Lian and Lu Changxing could see that, with Lu Lingxiao's way of cultivation, it probably wouldn't take him long to make a breakthrough. Lu Changxing felt that, at the rate of his son Lu Lingxiao's cultivation, he would likely break through into foundation establishment by his 20s. Indeed, if hard work was enough, then what would be the need for talent? Lu Changxing shook his head lightly. Seeing his children become increasingly talented, he deeply realized that effort was almost insignificant in the face of absolute talent. Then he handed the ancient beast-taming charm to his son Lu Lingxiao so that he could consult Hong Lian should any issues arise. Chapter 1029, Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, Insect Nest Bag. Chapter 1029, Chapter 365, Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, Insect Nest Bag. Congratulations to the host, your first descendant has become a second-grade talisman master. You've earned one lottery draw opportunity. That day, while Lu Changxing was training in the 100 Refinements Treasure Body Art, he suddenly heard a system prompt. Wang Shu has advanced to a second-grade talisman master, huh? A smile crept onto Lu Changxing's face, and he instantly knew his daughter, Lu Wangshu, had become a second-grade talisman master. After the incident with the Black Crow True Immortal years ago, his daughter Lu Wangshu had become much more diligent. Though she still had a playful streak in her. She was no longer like she used to be, interested in everything, wasting her talent and time. Most of her focus was now on cultivation and the talisman path. However, becoming a second-grade talisman master only gets a regular lottery draw. Lu Changxing thought about how previously, when his son Lu Pinggan had broken through to the second-order body refining, the system had given an advanced-level lottery draw. Is talisman making one rank below body refining? Or is it that all these are considered part of the 100 arts of cultivation and are counted together? After pondering for a moment, Lu Changxing cursed, "Damn system," and got up to visit his daughter. Having become a second-grade talisman master, she must be thrilled and wanting to share her happiness with him. Sure enough, as he arrived at Lu Wangshu's courtyard, he immediately saw his daughter with a look of joy and happiness on her face. "Xiaohe, this is the first second-rank spirit talisman that sister has drawn. Once I become Jianghu country's #1 talisman cultivator in the future, this talisman will be priceless. No need for 98,000 or 9,800, just 998. Lu Wangshu held a spirit talisman in her hand, sharing her joy with her younger sister Lu Lingyi. "But sister, I don't have that many spirit stones." Lu Lingyi, somewhat moved by her sister's words, glanced at her own purse and said weakly, "You can go ask daddy for some." Thump. Lu Changxing stepped forward immediately, knocked on Lu Wangshu's head and said aloud, "Lu Wangshu, you really got some nerve actually tricking Xiaohe out of her spirit stones." Although his daughter Lu Lingyi, because of her dragon roar physique, was not cultivating, Lu Changxing still allowed the family to give her a share of cultivation resources every month to save as her own little treasure trove. "Dad, how can you say I'm tricking her? It's clearly keeping the resources within the family. By the time I become Jianghu country's #1 talisman cultivator, others will be clamoring for a talisman drawn by the young fairy maiden Wangshu." Lu Wangshu retorted with an unconvinced look on her face, "Besides, if I don't become the #1 talisman cultivator in Jianghu country because you keep knocking on my head, you'll have nowhere to cry when the time comes." "Lu Wangshu, when did I ever realize how vain you are, talking about being the #1 talisman cultivator in Jianghu country? Where do you put your father then?" Lu Changxing was amused by his daughter's words. "Humph, Dad, don't you think that being known as the father of Jianghu country's #1 talisman cultivator sounds even better than being the top talisman cultivator yourself?" Lu Wangshu wrapped her arm around her old father's arm, speaking out. "Hiss." Lu Changxing, upon hearing his daughter's words, stroked his chin, feeling that she made quite a point. If his children, each with their exceptional talents, made great achievements in the core formation nascent soul stage and excelled in the 100 arts of cultivation, couldn't he boast that before him stood the Southern Wilderness #1 body cultivator, the #1 sword cultivator, the #1 talisman cultivator, the #1 tool cultivator, the #1 gu cultivator, with 10 true monarchs and over 100 real immortals from the Lu family's ancestor. Cough cough. Lu Changxing dismissed the thoughts and asked his daughter, "Wangshu, did I just hear you say you've drawn a second-rank spirit talisman?" Although he already knew through the system to satisfy his daughter's vanity and share in her joy, he was still willing to play along as a doting father. "Umph." Lu Wangshu proudly puffed out her chest, lifted her delicate chin, and handed the second-rank spirit talisman she had drawn to her old father. "Wangshu, did you draw this?" Lu Changxing feigned a surprised and delighted expression. "MHM." Lu Wangshu's mouth curved into a smile, gently nodding her head, the picture of grace and composure. "Good good good. My daughter fairy maiden Wangshu truly deserves to be Jianghu country's future top talisman cultivator, no, the top one in the Southern Wilderness." With such talent, your father is humbled before you. Lu Changxing praised her loudly. His daughter reaching second-grade talisman master status at her age was a mark of genius no matter where she was. This was when Lu Wangshu had been playful in her early years and not very interested in talisman making. Otherwise, with her talent for the talisman path, she probably would have achieved second grade a lot earlier. Of course, part of this was thanks to the 99 mystical talisman scripture. This talisman path technique required much time to understand spiritual patterns in the early stages, far more profound than typical second-rank talisman traditions. It was for this reason that Lu Wangshu's progress in cultivation and talisman path was slower. But Li Changxing was not worried about the cultivation aspects. As long as his daughter built a solid foundation in the talisman path, once she achieved foundation establishment and formed her life-bound divine talisman, all those spiritual patterns would become her foundation. During her regular talisman-making process, she could condense mystical talisman qi to turn into her own cultivation and magical power. Lu Wangshu was very happy with Lu Changxing's praise. However, Lu Changxing also didn't forget about his other daughter Lu Lingyi, inquiring about her recent martial training. This daughter, due to her dragon roar physique, was not suited for cultivation just yet. So Lu Changxing had her continue her martial training to temper her physical body. Upon hearing her father's words, Lu Lingyi immediately demonstrated her progress to her old father, throwing 2 punches his way. Good. Lu Changxing praised, saying how great and powerful her punches were. System lottery draw. After spending time with his daughters, Lu Changxing thought of the system lottery, silently invoking the command in his mind. Immediately, a light red roulette wheel appeared, spinning with a golden glow. After a few breaths, the gold light landed on the magical treasures category. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the magical treasure. Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror. Award has been placed in the system space. The host can check it at any time. Chapter 1030, Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, Insect Nest Bag. Chapter 1030, Chapter 365. Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, Insect Nest Bag. A bronze ancient mirror emerged from the great spinning wheel, accompanied by a system notification sound. Another magical treasure? Lu Changxing raised his eyebrows upon seeing this reward. He had previously won a magical treasure, the Starlight Plate, and now here came another magical treasure. Magic Artifact, Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, Grade, Top Grade Magical Treasure. Description: A treasured inheritance from the Cave Profound Sect. It allows observation of a person's meridians and acupoints, insights into cultivation techniques and the flow of their circuits. It can also activate magical treasures and assist in cultivation. Top-grade magical treasure? Lu Changxing was somewhat surprised when he saw the description of the magical treasure. The few magical treasures he had won from the lottery were at most high-quality treasures, like the fate-defying robe. He hadn't expected that this time he would get a top-grade magical treasure. However, judging by the effects, this magical treasure was not for combat purposes but rather an auxiliary treasure. It could observe the state of others, their cultivation techniques, and assist in cultivation. Extract. Lu Changxing immediately extracted the Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror from the system to check its specific effects. In an instant, an elliptical bronze ancient mirror about 3 feet tall appeared in front of Lu Changxing. The mirror shone with bright luminescence and mysterious lotus-shaped patterns adorned its frame, giving it an aura of profound mystery and immense power. Hiss, what a treasure! Lu Changxing looked at the Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror before him with excitement in his eyes. Although the Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror lacked the ability for combat, just by dropping a person's blood onto the mirror and then shining it upon them, one could reflect all of their conditions. The flesh, meridians, dantian acupoints, and limbs could all be clearly reflected through the Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, leaving no issue undiscovered. During this process, if the person was circulating their cultivation techniques or casting spells, the movement of their techniques, the state of their mana, and more could all be revealed. Moreover, it could also consume a great amount of mana, allowing the mirror to make self-adaptive adjustments to the practitioner's technique circuit. Or if there were any techniques or spells one couldn't learn, the mirror could be used to guide the practitioner into a deeply focused and captivating state to help them learn and comprehend, thus achieving twice the result with half the effort. Having this magical treasure, it will be much more convenient to instruct my children in cultivation in the future. And when I make a breakthrough to core formation, I can fully stimulate this magical treasure to enhance the cultivation level of my children by a whole grade. Lu Changxing deeply realized the effectiveness of this magical treasure. Although the family had Hong Lian, a nascent soul true lord, to guide cultivation, Hong Lian was now only a spirit soul, usually residing within the ancient beast-taming charm, at most providing simple guidance and answering questions based on nascent soul experience. It was impossible to check each individual's condition and provide targeted instruction. But with this cave mystique treasure mirror, one glance could reflect the condition, body state and cultivation level of the family's children. By that time, with the information on the mirror, Hong Lian could use her experience as a nascent soul true lord to provide visionary and incisive suggestions. Furthermore, the effect of the mirror to micro-adjust the practitioner's technique circuits for self-adaptation was, in Lu Changxing's view, astonishingly remarkable. Currently, only Lu Miaoge and Bai Ling had undergone self-adaptive adjustments in their cultivation due to their unique circumstances, perfectly aligning with their own situation. Others, including himself, had not encountered this situation. But the cave mystique treasure mirror could carry out simple deductions based on each person's situation, making simple self-adaptive micro-adjustments so that the effect of cultivation could be optimized. Even if the adjustment and adaptation only improved the efficiency of cultivation by 1% over time, the result would be tremendously impressive. However, the cave mystique treasure mirror probably won't have much effect on me, right? Lu Changxing thought about the yin-yang creation scripture he was cultivating. Although the effect of the cave mystique treasure mirror was astonishing, it was, after all, just a magical treasure. It was unlikely to be able to adjust a cultivation technique of the caliber of the yin-yang creation scripture. Plus, he had system-assisted cultivation which was already quite perfect. But after core formation, this shouldn't be much of a problem. Moreover, even the cave mystique treasure mirror probably couldn't surmise the yin-yang creation scripture better than I can myself. Lu Changxing shook his head, not worried about these details. The issue of compatibility with cultivation techniques was mainly a problem in the early stages. Once a cultivator broke through to core formation, they would have a deep understanding of cultivation and their unique interpretations. On the path to nascent soul, they would adjust according to their own body structure, understanding of the Great Tao, and even the cultivation environment so that the technique perfectly aligned with themselves. Thus, after core formation, even if practicing the same technique, differences would gradually appear among those from the same sect. Lu Changxing took the cave mystique treasure mirror, returned to the Changxing Hall, and began to refine this top-grade magical treasure. At Golden Dragon Ridge, within the Jin family, Patriarch, now that Bihu Mountain has been moving many of its industries towards White Tiger Mountain, it will become increasingly difficult for us to reclaim White Tiger Mountain in the future. The Patriarch of Jin family spoke respectfully to his ancestor. Over the years, he had been paying close attention to the movements of Bihu Mountain, from the early matters involving Lu Qingshan to last year's incident with Xia Zhaoyang, which made him more and more wary of Bihu Mountain. So fast. The growth rate of Bihu Mountain was incredibly fast. Although the family had only gained Lu Miaoyun, a foundation establishment cultivator, in recent years, outside the family besides the prodigious son Lu Qingshan, there were also Zhao Qingqing and Xia Zhaoyang at the Qingyun sect, two foundation establishment cultivators. And he had also learned that Lu Changxing had a deep relationship with Fairy Shiyu of Qingyun sect, a nascent soul immortal and sister to his master. Chapter 1031. Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, Insect Nest Bag. Chapter 1031. Chapter 365. Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, Insect Nest Bag. To be honest, he wasn't too keen on making an enemy of Bai Lake Mountain now. He just wanted to reclaim White Tiger Mountain for his own family. Let's wait regarding the matter of White Tiger Mountain, ancestor of Jin family said calmly. He was more wary of Bai Lake Mountain and the circumstances of Lu Changxing and his wife than many others in his family. Initially, he wanted to use another's hand to kill, elevating Bai Lake Mountain, so that beast-taming Su family would take notice of Lu clan's couple. Who would have expected that beast-taming Su family would have such a catastrophe, resulting in the death of a false core patriarch? This caused the third ancestor of Su family to have no leisure to concern themselves with Lu Changxing. Otherwise, if Lu Changxing were to die, Bai Lake Mountain would no longer be a concern. Yes, Patriarch. Patriarch of Jin family responded respectfully. As the Patriarch of Jin family, he knew that the Great Elder, because of the previous incident with Bai Lake Mountain, had given up trying for core formation and was preparing to condense a false core. Although the false core was far from comparable to nascent soul immortals, with the preparations made by the family over the years, the great elder had at least a 50% certainty of condensing a false core. Once he condensed the false core, it would be enough to break the current deadlock in the family, and take another step forward. Continue to observe the situation of by Lake Mountain, or use White Tiger Mountain to probe them. These years, by Lake Mountain Lu clan couple has been too calm. This Lu Changxing does not seem like someone who is content. This time, their moving businesses to White Tiger Mountain might have some hidden purpose. Ancestor of Jin family spoke. Back then he went to Bai Lake Mountain with Jin Zan to present gifts and apologize, raising Bai Lake Mountain's status. Since then, Bai Lake Mountain seemed to realize being too high profile and has been very low-key these years. The occupation of White Tiger Mountain had been in a semi-abandoned state until now they began to operate, arousing his suspicions. Yes, Patriarch. Patriarch of Jin family immediately replied. He came to see the Patriarch this time to report this matter, suspecting that Bai Lake Mountain had some kind of intention. Early on, once Lu Changxing had taken over Bai Lake Mountain, he would stir up trouble every few years. But these years not only has there been no movement, but even marrying and having children had slowed down. Like with Lu Qingshan, Xia Zhaoyang and Xiaoxia, if he hadn't been paying attention to Bai Lake Mountain and Lu Changxing, he wouldn't have known about these matters at all. Therefore he suspected that Bai Lake Mountain, like his own family, was secretly plotting and accumulating strength, not wanting to draw attention to themselves. Patriarch Cheng Yun takes his leave. Then Patriarch of Jin family took his leave. He prepared to probe Bai Lake Mountain through White Tiger Mountain, to see what Lu Changxing was really scheming. Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. Changxing Hall. Lu Changxing was refining the cave mystique treasure mirror. Suddenly he sensed a pure surge of mana entering his Qi Ocean core. He knew one of his children had broken through to the 9th level energy refinement. As for his children's breakthrough to the 9th level energy refinement, he was still quite concerning. After all, the 9th level of energy refinement meant they needed to prepare for foundation establishment, and he, as their father, would have to prepare the foundation establishment elixir. Wangshu. Lu Changxing first thought of his daughter Lu Wangshu and glanced at the system interface. Name, Lu Wangshu, lifespan, 26 of 119, talent, 4th grade spiritual root, blood talisman spiritual body, superior spirit body, cultivation level, 8th level energy refinement, talent, talisman path compatibility 89%. Not Wangshu? Lu Changxing was surprised. He hadn't expected it wasn't his daughter Lu Wangshu who broke through to the 9th level energy refinement. He continued looking at other children of his who were cultivating quickly. Name, Nangong Yao Yao, lifespan, 20/141, talent, 2nd grade spiritual root, flawless heavenly fragrance body, top level spiritual body, cultivation level, 9th level energy refinement, talent, charm technique compatibility 89%. Yao Yao has reached the 9th level energy refinement. Lu Changxing looked at the system panel before him, somewhat surprised and reflective. Unbeknownst to him, this daughter he had not yet met had reached the 9th level energy refinement. And judging by the cultivation talent of this daughter, she could probably break through foundation establishment in 2 to 3 years. Such cultivation talent was the fastest among all his children. He anticipated that only Lu Lingxiao in the future might be comparable to her. However, Nangong Yao Yao's speed in cultivation, aside from her astonishing talent, probably had a lot to do with Nangong Mili's nurturing. Sigh. Lu Changxing had thought about visiting Jin Kingdom to meet this daughter after forming his core. But at his current pace, reaching core formation would probably take another decade or so. By that time, the daughter would have already broken through foundation establishment and her personality set. Sigh. Lu Changxing sighed again and closed his eyes to continue refining his cave mystique treasure mirror. 2 months later, Lu Changxing observed the cave mystique treasure mirror floating before his eyes. After more than 3 months, he had finally succeeded in refining the magical treasure. Whoosh! Lu Changxing forced out a drop of essence blood, which flew towards the cave mystique treasure mirror. As the treasure mirror swallowed the drop of essence blood, radiant light flowed like a pure and sacred 5-colored lotus beginning to bloom. Immediately, an outline of a human body slowly emerged on the mirror's surface. Like a 3D human model, lacking specific facial features. It displayed the skin, muscles, blood flow, veins, mana, dantian, and acupoints in different colors, clearly visible to the observer. So this is my Bodhis condition? Flawless skin and muscles, robust blood flow like rivers, strong mana, but in the Qi Ocean core there are two different kinds of mana, showing that the seven luminaries' mana is transitioning into yin-yang magic power. Lu Changxing looked at the situation inside the cave mystique treasure mirror and could tell his physique and body were perfect without any blemishes or hidden injuries. Then he attempted to circulate the seven luminaries' great freedom sword scripture. In the cave mystique treasure mirror, a stream of seven luminaries' mana flowed through his inner veins and acupoints. Chapter 1032, Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, Insect Nest Bag. _4 Chapter 1032, Chapter 365, Cave Mystique Treasure Mirror, Insect Nest Bag. _4 The process was incredibly smooth, seamless, and without the slightest delay or pause, indicating his mana and physical body were in perfect harmony, and his cultivation had no issues. TSK, it's just like me. Lu Changxing's face revealed a hint of a smile. Then, with his fingers together, he executed the seven luminary sword qi. In the reflection of the cave mystique treasure mirror, a stream of mana traveled from the dantian through the meridians and instantly condensed into a sharp sword qi at his fingertips. This process was also exceptionally smooth and flowing. However, when Lu Changxing switched to a technique that he had not obtained through the system but had studied previously, his mana became significantly stiffer and not as practiced and smooth as before. This magical treasure truly is a treasure for transmitting teachings. Lu Changxing nodded in appreciation. Afterward, he wanted to try to activate the cave mystique treasure mirror to deduce the state of his cultivation technique. But when mana surged into the cave mystique treasure mirror, it was like a stone sinking into the sea. It merely nudged the magical treasure without being able to activate this effect. This made Lu Changxing realize that even though he had broken through to core formation, using the treasure mirror to correct others' cultivation techniques was not easy and required a substantial amount of mana. The other effect of the treasure mirror, the ability to guide others in their cultivation through the mirror disciple, likewise required great magical power to sustain. Without delay, Lu Changxing left the Changxing Hall and found his wife Lu Miaoyun. He asked her to notify all the Lu family disciples who had begun their cultivation to come. He wanted to inspect their cultivation status. Lu Miaoyun, although not knowing why Lu Changxing had suddenly taken such an interest, did not ask more questions and immediately had their son, Lu Yun, gather the family disciples. Before long, 37 Lu family disciples lined up in a queue, excluding the 28 children who were out, all looking at Lu Changxing, their father and grandfather, with a mix of nervousness and trepidation. After all, Lu Changxing had never conducted such a surprise inspection of their cultivation status. Usually, he would only take an interest and ask about it at family banquets, or under certain circumstances. Many concubines hearing the news came to watch, wanting to know what was happening. They worried that if their children's cultivation was poor, or performance lacking, it would displease Lu Changxing. "Yuner, let's start with you," said Lu Changxing looking at his son Lu Yun. Now that Lu Pingan, Lu Xinji, Lu Chuanjin, Lu Rui, and others were all out, Lu Yun was the eldest among these children. "Yes, father," Lu Yun walked up to Lu Changxing. Lu Changxing did not use the cave mystique treasure mirror right away. Instead, he shrunk it to the size of a palm and held it in his hand, asking Lu Yun to drop a drop of essence blood on it. Lu Yun did not hesitate. A magical sword appeared in his hand, he cut his finger and let a drop of essence blood fall onto the cave mystique treasure mirror. Instantly, Lu Changxing activated the cave mystique treasure mirror and saw an image of his son. He could clearly see every detail of his son's body, meridians, dantian, and mana. Lu Yun's image was not as flawless and radiant with golden light as his own. It had several small red spots indicating areas of concern. They might have originated from issues during cultivation, fighting techniques, childhood bumps and bruises, or even daily habits. "Run your cultivation technique," Lu Changxing said to Lu Yun. As expected, as Lu Yun operated his cultivation technique, the flow of mana would clearly slow down a bit at the red spots, not flowing as smoothly as it should. Lu Yun himself might not have noticed these nuances in his daily practice. But under the reflection of the cave mystique treasure mirror, Lu Changxing could see everything clearly. Your spiritual energy at the celestial spring acupoint and the extreme spring acupoint is somewhat uncomfortable. Later, go to the medical pavilion for treatment and nourishment. During your daily sitting cultivation, let spiritual power linger a bit longer, about 3 breaths at these few spots. Lu Changxing spoke up, offering guidance on his son's current situation. The issues were there but they were not severe. After all, with guidance from Hong Lian, he occasionally paid attention to the cultivation status of his children. If the cave mystique treasure mirror had detected a pile of problems, he and Hong Lian might as well have gone and banged their heads against tofu. Now, for him and Hong Lian, the cave mystique treasure mirror served to identify and fix deficiencies. It made their children's cultivation as close to perfect as possible. Once he broke through to core formation, he would be able to use the cave mystique treasure mirror to transmit teachings and allow their cultivation techniques to adapt accordingly, reaching true perfection. Celestial Spring Acupoint, Extreme Spring Acupoint? Lu Yun was unaware of the issues in these areas. However, he trusted his father's words completely without any doubt and respectfully responded, "Yes, father." Immediately, the next son stepped forward. Lu Changxing instructed him to do as Lu Yun did, then said, "You should consume a breakthrough elixir for the realm you're attempting to break through, right? Your foundation is still somewhat shaky. You need to solidify your foundation well in the coming time. Then, during sitting cultivation and while running your cultivation technique, linger a bit longer at the shoulder center shu fanning wind, at several points. Wait until you are at the peak of the 7th level before rushing to breakthrough. Exchange for a 3 sons elixir from the family, then continue your cultivation." After checking his son's condition, Lu Changxing quickly offered pinpoint advice. Not only was he proficient in a multitude of cultivation techniques, but as a second-order alchemist, he also had a basic understanding of pharmacology. "Thank you, father." The son exhaled in relief and nodded in agreement. Thus, one by one, the children lined up and approached. Lu Changxing gave them advice on their physical condition and some issues in their cultivation. All the wives and Lu family disciples were surprised. They all looked at their father, their grandfather, with astonishment and doubt. Lu Miaoyun, seeing this situation, guessed that her husband must have obtained some treasure or had cultivated some new technique in magical powers. Otherwise, her husband wouldn't have possessed such an astonishing capability before. This time their son Lu Lingxiao also came to line up. Lu Changxing checked his condition through the cave mystique treasure mirror. The son's body had no problems at all. Even his eyes and left hand shimmered with golden specks, indicating that his cultivation of eye and left hand techniques and magical powers was extraordinary. It took a whole day for Lu Changxing to examine all his children's conditions. They all had no major problems, at most some minor ones. It showed that Hong Lian was truly exceptional. There was no need for a detailed check on each person's condition. By resolving some issues they encountered during their daily cultivation practice, he could solve most of their problems. This checkup also allowed Lu Changxing to gain a detailed understanding of the cultivation progress of all his family's disciples. For example, his son Lu Qingxian was progressing slightly faster in his cultivation than his daughter Lu Wangshu. It was estimated that he would be able to break through to the 9th level of qi refinement in another 2 months. But this was normal. This son, with a 4th-grade spiritual root, was much more diligent and hardworking than Lu Wangshu in cultivation and didn't need to be distracted by other things. Immediately after, Lu Changxing told Lu Miaoyun that from now on, every 6 months when instructing cultivation, she should inform him. He would examine and guide the Lu family disciples' cultivation progress with Hong Lian. 3 months later. Congratulations, host. 5 of your children have broken through to the 9th level of qi refinement, granting you 1 lottery draw opportunity. 5 and there's child money already? Could this be related to the number of times qi is channeled into the body? Lu Changxing's eyebrows rose as he heard the system's prompt. He guessed it must be his son Lu Qingxian who had broken through to the 9th level of qi refinement. Upon checking the system interface, it was indeed the case. Although this son had only just made a breakthrough, Lu Changxing planned to refine the second batch of foundation establishment elixirs after some time. Over the years, the family had already gathered all the auxiliary ingredients for the foundation establishment elixir, ready to start alchemy at any time. System draw prize. Having obtained a cave mystique treasure mirror not long ago, Lu Changxing was now very interested in magical treasures. He was thinking about getting another treasure like the Illusion Heart platform from Qingyun sect, a soul-searching magical treasure. Or another kind of magical treasure that could nurture and temper the family's disciples. Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining an exotic treasure, insect nest bag. Reward has been issued to the system space. Host can check it at any time. A silver-gray bag with a fierce pattern emerged from the roulette wheel, accompanied by a system notification sound. An exotic treasure? Lu Changxing raised his eyebrows upon seeing this reward. He was quite fond of exotic treasures. Because exotic treasures had no usage restrictions, and most of their effects were quite good. It was just that this particular exotic treasure seemed a bit unorthodox. With a slight stir in his mind, Lu Changxing looked towards the system space. Exotic treasure, insect nest bag, grade, 3rd rank, description, suitable for the survival of most spiritual insects. If demon beast flesh and blood are thrown in, the insect nest bag will automatically refine it, forming flesh and blood bug pellets that can accelerate the propagation and growth of spiritual insects. It's a bit lackluster. Lu Changxing shook his head after reading the introduction to this exotic treasure. In his early years, due to Meng Xiaoquan's influence, he had taken an interest in insect control. But gradually he lost this interest. Also, possessing the ancient beast-taming charm, if he really wanted to raise spiritual insects, he could completely let Hong Lian help with the breeding. After all, the effect of the insect nest bag was not only similar, but the ancient beast-taming charm was many times better. So in his view, although the insect nest bag was nice, it was a rather superfluous treasure. And the family doesn't seem to have any insect control inheritance, nor does anyone seem to have a talent for it. Lu Changxing let out a sigh. However, the next moment, his eyes narrowed slightly as he suddenly thought of one of his sons. Chapter 1033, The Path of Insect Control, 4th Elder's Joyful Tragedy. Chapter 1033, Chapter 366, The Path of Insect Control, 4th Elder's Joyful Tragedy. Bihu Lake Mountain, Lu Family Academy. The cultivation world is full of killing and danger. One misstep and you could perish, your path to immortality cut short. How should we respond? How to avoid danger? Lu Xianxia, you speak first. The lecturer looked at an 11 or 12-year-old boy with rosy lips, white teeth and a handsome face. First, we should avoid getting involved in trouble or entangled with strange people and situations, and the best way is simply to stay at home and not go out. Lu Xianxia stood up and said so. Ha ha, never leave home for a lifetime. If you want to cultivate, unless you have the rumored heavenly spiritual root, without an opportunity or a stroke of fortune, how can you succeed in cultivation? Youngsters of the same age in the academy laughed. Second, it is the trump cards, the methods. The cultivation world is so dangerous. One must have sufficient trump cards, methods unknown to others, so that we can solve the dangers and troubles we may encounter with those of the same realm. Third, always be ready to run away, even if you must go out seeking opportunities, don't risk your life. Lu Xianxia, unconcerned by the look in others' eyes, said so. This question was one he had once asked his father, and it was the answer his father had given him. Upon hearing this, the lecturer fell silent for a moment before speaking. Lu Xianxia makes a good point. While cultivation requires a spirit of enterprise, one's own safety must always come first. After class ended, Lu Xianxia came to the Lu family's library alone. Because Lu Changxing had liked to read in his earlier years, learning about the cultivation world, he believed all his children should read widely. Therefore he had moved all the common marketplace available books on cultivation back to his home, placing them in the library. It could be said that the collection in the Lu family's library was more complete than most marketplaces' bookstores. Lu Xianxia liked to come to the library and read whenever he had spare time. Not that he truly enjoyed reading. On one hand, his personality was somewhat reclusive, with not many friends, preferring to be alone. On the other hand, it was his somewhat unfamiliar memory of his mother telling him to listen to his father and try his best to gain his father's favor. He wanted to perform well in front of his father, to be noticed by him. Foundation establishment, core formation, nascent soul. These divine skills are indeed profound. It's just a pity that I'm only in the chi refinement realm, just getting a glimpse of the path. Well, these old topics aren't very interesting to look at anyway. Lu Xianxia casually read books, came across a manual recording the realms of cultivation, shook his head and mused under his breath. He had already channeled chi into his body and naturally knew about the major realms of cultivation. But he was also aware that those who could cultivate to the foundation establishment stage were rare. Even with his 5th grade spiritual root and good talent, he did not dare to say that he could establish his foundation in the future. Path of the insect control, myriad insects gathering in the thousands and millions, able to destroy cities and pull down strongholds, invincible in all directions. A million fierce insects could even shake the heavens. Iron fire ants, a gregarious, fierce insect that devours metals and nature's spiritual energy, extremely vicious, immune to water and fire, likes to cluster in spherical forms. 9-een venom bee born in the 9-een lands, an ancient mutant bee that gathers in swarms, can spray purple poison gas, And whoever is stung by its nine-tailed bee sting will die instantly. Huishan worm, a parasitic and peculiar insect, feeds on the spirits and souls of others, and as soon as it suffers a divine sense attack, it immediately releases a special poison attacking the source. Sky-devouring locust, blood jade spider, iron fire ant, red flame scorpion. And my thousand-legged centipede is also in this book? Xianxia found this unknown manual of rare insects quite interesting. His cultivation technique was called the beast technique, and he was going to pursue the path of beast taming. Insect control was very close to beast taming, and could even be considered as a branch of beast taming. Moreover, when he began his cultivation, his mother had given him a thousand-legged centipede with earth-grade bloodline. It was also for this reason that he realized his often absent mother was extraordinary. After all, a demon beast with earth-grade bloodline, most people did not have the capability and wealth to acquire one. If only my thousand-legged centipede were a gregarious fierce insect, then according to this book, a chi refinement cultivator with hundreds or thousands of fierce insects could also assassinate a foundation-building great cultivator. After finishing the book, Xianxia sighed to himself. Xianxia. Just then, suddenly a gentle voice sounded at Xianxia's ear. He turned abruptly, looking to see a handsome young man dressed in a green robe standing not too far away. He immediately shook, saluted with clasped hands and said, "Your son pays his respects to father. Are you interested in the way of insect control?" Lu Changxing asked his son. This son of his had a fifth-grade spiritual root, inheriting some of Su Rian's talent for beast taming. Thus, when Hong Lian taught the Lu family's disciples to cultivate, she expressed that this child had a good talent for beast taming. And Su Rian also sent her son a thousand-legged centipede with a mid-grade earth-level bloodline. I just happened across it and was getting to know it a little. Xianxia did not know what his father had come to see him for and was quite constrained. If you are interested in the way of insect control, you can delve into it. Lu Zhang smiled warmly and produced a silver-gray bag emblazoned with layers of ferocious patterns, bound with red strings. This bag is called an insect nest bag and is very suitable for housing spiritual insects. Normally, when feeding the insects, just put the flesh and blood of demon beasts into the bag, and it will automatically form flesh and blood bug pellets, accelerating the growth and reproduction of the spiritual insects. If you're interested and perform well in the path of insect control, then this bag will be yours. Lu Zhang tossed the bag to his son and said this. Insect control could be considered a branch of beast taming. If his son showed good talent on the path of insect control, Lu Zhang thought of giving the insect nest bag to him. Chapter 1034. The Way of Insect Control, Fourth Elder's Joyous Bereavement. Chapter 1034. Chapter 366. The Way of Insect Control, Fourth Elder's Joyous Bereavement. After all, the insect nest bag reminded him of the ancient beast-taming charm and of Su Rian. Su Rian had been with the beast-taming Su family all these years, unable to be by Lu Xianxia's side. Naturally, as a father he had to show some concern. Moreover, his son was capable of mastering the beast technique, which made him worthy of focused cultivation. Insect nest bag, the path of insect control. Although Lu Xianxia did not know why his father suddenly mentioned the path of insect control, observing the silver-gray bag in his hand, he did not hesitate and immediately cupped his hands, saying, "Thank you, father. Your son will certainly not disappoint you." Lu Changxing nodded, then checked on his son's cultivation and life matters. He asked him to seek Lu Yun's help to purchase insect eggs and also allocated an extra 50 spirit stones each month for him to nurture the insects. After making these arrangements, Lu Changxing returned to Blue Lake Mountain. For him, this matter was just something done in passing. Whether this son could make something of himself depended on his own efforts. A year later. Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven, Changxing Hall. A powerful mana force emanated from the cave mansion, intangible spiritual pressure already surpassing the foundation establishment level, akin to that of a false core immortal. As expected, at this rate, without even fully converting the yin-yang creation scripture, the realm could achieve a breakthrough to the 9th level foundation establishment through my children. Lu Changxing opened his eyes. His gaze was piercing as if it were two intimidating swords. Over the years, he had spent most of his time converting the yin-yang creation scripture. Still, relying on the added cultivation from his children and the gradual improvement of Sun-Moon Samsara technique, his progress could still be considered incredibly fast. He quietly sensed the mana within his body. With the enhancement from the profound origin bead, his mana was now indistinguishable from that of a false core immortal. It was even more robust than some inept practitioners with false core power. But now, his profound origin bead had also reached its limit. Even if he continued to improve, this bead could no longer provide any enhancement. Being able to amplify to this extent is already quite impressive. If I break through to core formation, this profound origin bead would likely only serve as an ordinary boosting magical treasure. Lu Changxing exhaled deeply, planning to pass down this bead through his family lineage after his breakthrough to core formation. After all, for Foundation Establishment cultivators, this bead was truly a top-tier treasure. Promptly, Lu Changxing continued to meditate, stabilizing the mana he had just broken through. 5 days later, Lu Changxing exited the cave mansion and looked at the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus in the spiritual spring. Besides the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus, there were also 3 heavenly origin precious lotuses. These were additional ones that Xianxia had delivered 2 years ago. However, Lu Changxing was focusing all his efforts on cultivating the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus, so these 3 lotuses showed little change. It seems like the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus might not advance to Tianyuan Lotus before I break through core formation. How about I use the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus for now and swap it out once the Tianyuan Lotus is cultivated? Lu Changxing looked at the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus in front of him, rubbed his chin and pondered. Although advancing it to Tianyuan Lotus could not be better, the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus was sufficient for his current stage of use. Let's nurture it for 3 more years, then I'll harvest and cultivate the next one. Lu Changxing thought to himself, walked out of Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven, and visited the Lu family mansion to see Xia Zizhu. 3 months ago, the first child after Xia Zizhu's foundation establishment was born. Unfortunately, this child only had a 5th grade spiritual root. This made the hopeful Lu Changxing sigh slightly. However, considering the spirit-nurturing physique was just an ordinary spiritual body, being able to give all children spiritual roots and enhance their quality was already remarkable. How could one expect a high-quality spiritual root in just 1 birth? It had already been very fortunate to have Lu Xingqian born years ago. Therefore, Lu Changxing planned to have more children with Xia Zizhu after his breakthrough to core formation. On one hand, the children born then would surely have better talents. On the other hand, Xia Zizhu had already given birth to 5 children. He couldn't possibly let her keep bearing children endlessly just because of her unique physique. Besides, giving birth after core formation would also be strenuous for Xia Zizhu, requiring proper recuperation. Jianghu Mountain. Ever since Lu Changxing established Blue Lake Mountain Lu family, Jianghu Mountain had also been prospering. Although the family only had Lu Yuanzhong and Lu Muping, 2 foundation establishment cultivators, stationed there, after so many years of development, fresh blood and a core force had been replenished in the family. Moreover, with the foundation establishment elixirs given by Lu Changxing, half sold, half donated 5 years ago, Jianghu Mountain could cultivate a 3rd foundation establishment great cultivator anytime it wished. However, Lu Yuanzhong was very cautious about the selection of the family's 3rd foundation establishment cultivator. Now, with him and Lu Muping stationed there, 100 years of peace was assured. Thus, he believed the 3rd foundation establishment cultivator had to be a tiger-like and wolf-like aggressive leader, not another conservative one. Only in this way could their Jianghu Mountain step further in the future, and not just rely on Blue Lake Mountain. In Jianghu Valley, a small courtyard full of Qingling bamboo, the 4th elder was basking in the sun on a reclining chair. She was now 124 years old. Though energy-refining cultivators could live to 120, very few actually reached this age. If not for the 2nd-rank lifespan extension pill given by Lu Changxing, considering the effort she put into researching and drawing talismans in her youth, it would have been hard to reach this age. Now, regardless of age or status, she was truly an elder in Jianghu Mountain. I miss Changxing Yuner. The old lady basking on the reclining chair squinted her cloudy eyes, feeling her sight blur slightly, and suddenly murmured softly. Great ancestor, what did you say? The younger generation of the Lu family immediately came closer to inquire, attending by her side. Chapter 1035. The Way of Insect Control, 4th Elder's Joyous Bereavement. Chapter 1035. Chapter 366. The Way of Insect Control, 4th Elder's Joyous Bereavement. The 4th Elder slightly turned his head to look at the younger generation beside him. His voice louder by a few degrees, feeble and exhausted, he said, I miss Changxing and Yuner. I want to see Changxing and Yuner. Lu Xuanya, upon hearing the words of her great-grandmother, immediately understood that she was referring to her own grandfather and grandmother. Her grandfather usually stayed indoors and only occasionally ventured out to visit Jianghu Mountain. As for her grandmother, for some reason she had not come to Jianghu Mountain for almost 20 years. If it were not for the enduring good relations between the two families, she would have suspected that her grandmother had some dispute with Jianghu Mountain, which was why she never came. She was just about to say that her grandparents and the others were not at Jianghu Mountain and it might take some days before they could come. But seeing the fourth elder's withered and gaunt face flushing slightly, her cloudy and dim eyes brightened a bit, as if imploringly gazing at her, her heart abruptly missed a beat. Her father Lu Yun had told her and her siblings to frequently visit Jianghu Mountain to keep their ancestor company, having informed them that the fourth elder had not much time left. Now, seeing the ancestor in such a state, she immediately thought of the phenomenon known as rallying before death. "Ancestor, please wait, I will go right away to inform grandfather and grandmother to come." The girl's heart quivered, her eyes reddened, and she spoke with pursed lips. Then she hastily conveyed the message to Lu Yuanding and others at Jianghu Mountain, and sent a message to her father. By Lake Mountain. Lu Changxing was engaged in alchemy when his son Lu Yun came to report. A message had arrived from Jianghu Mountain, the fourth elder's light was nearly out, the end was near. "Has your mother received the message?" Lu Changxing, after a moment of silence, asked. Birth, aging, illness and death are the norm in life. He had consistently visited the fourth elder on Jianghu Mountain over the years. He could clearly see that her lifespan was coming to an end. Now the day had inevitably come. "I haven't informed mother yet," Lu Yun said, his face heavy with sorrow. He knew his mother could not leave by Lake Mountain because of the cultivation technique she practiced. If his grandmother were to learn of her own great-grandmother's impending death and be unable to visit her for the last time, her heart would surely be overcome with grief. "I'll go ahead." Lu Changxing took a deep breath and said. He prepared to rush to Jianghu Mountain to see the fourth elder for the last time and bring her to Bai Lake Mountain. His wife Lu Miaoyun was raised by the fourth elder from a young age, and they shared a deep bond. If she could not even see the elder for one last time, there would be an indelible pain and bitterness in her heart, and it might even lead to the emergence of a heart demon. "Yes, father." Lu Yun understood his father's intent. The next moment he saw his father step directly out of the alchemy chamber, then transform into an escape light and leave by Lake Mountain. Sigh. Lu Yun watched his father's departing figure, heaving a deep sigh, his heart filled with an inexplicable bitterness. Cultivation. In the end, nobody can escape the pain of parting by life and death. The stronger the cultivator, the more they must endure and face. "But I suppose in the future I will likely go ahead of my parents." Lu Yun gazed at the azure sky, feeling a wave of sadness. The life of a cultivator is not only about facing countless life and death battles but also about enduring the partings and deaths of loved ones and friends. It is for this very reason as cultivators grow older, their demeanor often becomes more detached. It is not because they are naturally indifferent. It's because they have experienced too much. An hour later, Lu Changxing arrived at Jianghu Mountain riding on the Starlight Plate. "Uncle, grandfather." At this time, quite a few people were already waiting at the mountain gate. Upon seeing Lu Changxing, they stepped forward and respectfully paid their respects. Lu Changxing did not engage in much small talk with them, simply acknowledging their greeting before going straight to Jianghu Valley, to the fourth elder's courtyard. "Changxing, uncle. Changxing, you've come." Lu Yuanding and others were somewhat surprised by his speed when they saw Lu Changxing had hurried over. At this time, Lu Miaoga had also rushed over from Red Leaf Valley Marketplace, and was using Tai True water to nourish the fourth elder's physical body. But at this moment, the fourth elder's visage was gaunt, her body not only exuded an atmosphere of deep twilight but also a dense aura of death. This was the end of her lifespan. Unless there was a top-tier treasure capable of prolonging life, there was no reversing her fate. Changxing, the fourth elder, seeing the young man who resembled an orchid and pine inside, her cloudy eyes gleaming faintly, said with a hoarse and aged voice, tremblingly stretching forth her withered arm. "Grandmother, I'm here." Lu Changxing's heart felt heavy as he stepped forward to take the fourth elder's hand. Even though he had long known of this day, this moment, and had been mentally prepared, the sight of the old lady on her deathbed still caused an unspeakable sadness in his heart. "Changxing, don't be sad, grandmother is content and happy to have lived to see you and Miaoyun, to see the family like this." The fourth elder, her eyes cloudy, her mouth opening and closing, kept saying, "You and Miaoyun Miaoga must take good care of yourselves. It's a pity grandmother won't see the day you both become great cultivators. Little Yun has a sincere nature, you as a father must take good care of him. If Jianghu Mountain ever encounters trouble in the future, if you can help, then do lend them a hand. Although she lived only to be 124 years old, by that age she had already experienced many things. She not only witnessed the rise and fall of her family but also watched her children, family elders, and peers of her age pass away one by one. Now, in all of Jianghu Mountain, there was no longer anyone of her generation left. Hence, the only concerns and attachments left in her heart were for Lu Changxing, Lu Miaoyun, and the family that had raised and cared for her. Grandmother, rest assured, I will certainly take good care of Miaoyun, Sister Miaoga, and little Yun. As long as I, Lu Changxing, am alive, Jianghu Mountain will always stand. Chapter 1036. The Way of Insect Control, 4th Elder's Joyous Bereavement. _4 Chapter 1036. Chapter 366. The Way of Insect Control, 4th Elder's Joyous Bereavement. _4 Lu Changxing clasped the old man's hand, speaking in a solemn voice and making a formal promise. Beside him, Lu Yuanding, Lu Yuanzhong, and others listened to these words with heavy hearts, silently lamenting. At this moment the elder still couldn't forget his family. Although with Lu Changxing's character and the connection through Lu Miaoyun, Lu Miaoga, and Lu Miaohuan, the relationship between the two families could be maintained. Yet the elder still clung to his decaying body, leaving his last words at the moment of death. Yuner? Yuner? As he spoke, the 4th elder suddenly looked up, searching for his granddaughter Lu Miaoyun. She knew that Lu Miaoyun practiced the heavenly longevity technique and couldn't leave. But at this time she was no longer fully coherent, merely wishing to see her granddaughter one last time before dying. Grandma, I will take you to see Yuner right now. Hearing this, Lu Changxing took a deep breath, glanced toward Lu Yuanding and Lu Yuanzhong and said, Yuner cannot come because of the heavenly longevity technique, so I will now take Grandma to meet Yuner for their farewell. After speaking, he looked at Lu Miaoga next to him and said, Sister Miaoga, stabilize Grandma's life force. Well, go there now. All right. Although the 4th elder's condition didn't allow for much time, and it was not advisable to trouble her. But they all knew about the matter of the heavenly longevity technique, and that Lu Miaoyun could not leave Bihu Lake Mountain. If the 4th elder and Lu Miaoyun were to part in life and death without a final meeting, it would leave a deep regret in their hearts, difficult to reconcile. Grandma, let's go see Yuner now. The starlight plate appeared beneath Lu Changxing's feet, then he had Lu Miaoga hold the 4th elder, and the three of them turned into a streak of starlight and shot off. What kind of magic artifact is under Changxing's feet, such astonishing speed? Such speed! Lu Yuanzhong, Lu Yuanding, Lu Muping and others watched as Lu Changxing flew with such speed, exchanging glances in surprise. Because this flying speed had surpassed their understanding. However, they did not guess too much, and immediately after some discussion, Lu Yuanding took some people to Bihu Lake Mountain, while Lu Muping went to sit in the Red Leaf Valley Market. The Red Leaf Valley Market had been attacked by a demon cultivator before, and Lu Yuanzhong was seriously injured. Therefore, they were concerned that robber cultivators might learn that there was no Foundation establishment cultivator in charge of the Red Leaf Valley Market and come to loot. Bihu Lake Mountain. Grandma. Upon seeing the 4th elder, Lu Miaoyun was overwhelmed with grief, crying inconsolably. The elder was the person she was closest to. In these years she couldn't go out to visit Jianghu Mountain, only asking her children to visit the elder on her behalf. And as the elder grew older he didn't like to travel much, making infrequent visits to Bihu Lake Mountain, so in these years the two didn't meet often. Now that they met again it was a parting in life and death. Yuner. The 4th elder held her granddaughter's hand, softly muttering words of care and concern, and did the same for the siblings Lu Yun and Lu Yu. She had no more attachments, only unwillingness to let go of her concerns for the family and the younger generation. As night approached, Lu Changxing saw the elder's face become peaceful as her eyes closed, the last bit of life force dissipating. He sighed. He took a few steps back and bowed deeply. Grandma. Lu Miaoyun and the others, seeing this scene, turned red-eyed, weeping loudly and crying tears. Afterward, they followed the 4th elder's last wish, taking her remains to Jianghu Mountain's ancestral hall, holding an extravagant mourning ceremony. The funeral was conducted with great pomp. It did not seem like the death of an energy-refining cultivator. Not only did Bihu Lake Mountain wear white mourning clothes, but many Foundation establishment families from the surrounding area also came to offer incense and pay their respects. This was a large, chain escort business operating extensively. Ordinary cultivators, as long as they had a clean background and some strength, could register as escort guards at the Tianwei Escort Agency and accept escort missions. Places like Bihu Mountain and White Tiger Mountain, due to business needs, had many dealings with the Tianwei Escort Agency. This matter doesn't concern you White Tiger Mountain dwellers. Don't unnecessary trouble for yourselves. One of the conical-hatted Foundation establishment cultivators coldly snorted. Please, Taoist, lend a hand, I have a commission to fulfill. If you can help, there will be a generous reward from our Tianwei Escort Agency. The pursued tall cultivator continued to shout, his voice urgent and desperate, with a plea for help. I don't care who you are or where you're from. This place is within the bounds of White Tiger Mountain. Leave at once or you will bear the consequences. Lu Qingsong, facing the situation, spoke with a chilling expression, uttering a stern command. He seemed to realize that, being merely an energy-refining cultivator, such words might not be deterrent enough. At that moment, the entire mountain protection array of White Tiger Mountain fully activated, and in the sky above, it appeared as if a fierce tiger was crouching, fierce and majestic, roaring at the three men with overwhelming presence. Our Tianwei Escort Agency has quite a bit of business with your White Tiger Mountain and Bihu Mountain. In such circumstances, you would stand by and let robber cultivators do as they please? Upon hearing this, the pursued Foundation establishment cultivator immediately cried out in rage and despair. However, Lu Qingsong remained indifferent to such words and continued with an icy tone. I'll say it again, leave the vicinity of White Tiger Mountain immediately, otherwise bear the consequences. During his words, a ghostly light emerged from the depths of White Tiger Mountain, roaring towards the sky. It was the 9 Netherhound that guarded White Tiger Mountain. In past years, every time minor mischief occurred at White Tiger Mountain, Lu Qingsong and the 9 Netherhound would take care of it. Thus, surrounding families were well aware that White Tiger Mountain had a second-order spiritual beast as its guardian. Seeing this situation, the pursued Foundation establishment cultivator could only maneuver his magic artifact with an ugly expression and escape towards the mountain range along the edge of White Tiger Mountain. Moments later, after seeing the 3 men leave, Lu Qingsong spoke to the patrolling cultivators. Be extra vigilant during this time. At the first sign of anything amiss, activate the Great Formation. In previous years, during demon subjugation orders, Lu Qingsong had heard of family forces being infiltrated by robbers allying with cultivators and using disguises to breach through internal defenses to pillage. After all, cultivation families were protected by great formations, and unless there were internal issues, they were hard to break through in a short amount of time. And robber cultivators typically value speed in their battles and do not dare to engage with other family forces for too long. If unable to break through the Great Formation, they would retreat immediately. We understand. The patrolling station cultivators nodded in agreement. They all knew the cultivation world had not been very stable these years. Meanwhile, the 3 Foundation establishment cultivators who had just engaged in battle halted their fight upon entering a dense forest. It seems White Tiger Mountain is still guarded only by a second-order monster beast. Not bad, our probing has shown that no Foundation establishment cultivators from White Tiger Mountain appeared. It seems the situation is the same as before. Now that this is settled, shall we proceed with the next step? The 3 looked at each other and spoke. Their recent actions were naturally a probe against White Tiger Mountain. To see if White Tiger Mountain was indeed only guarded by a second-order spiritual beast as their intel suggested. If it truly was only the beast, they would not hesitate to make their move. Moreover, if they managed to infiltrate White Tiger Mountain with a Foundation establishment cultivator, they could easily breach the mountain protection array from within and without. Chapter 1038. 3 million sword cultivators in the world must lower their eyes when they see me. Chapter 1038. Chapter 367. 3 million sword cultivators in the world must lower their eyes when they see me. Lu Qingsong returned to White Tiger Peak. A young man with a firm and robust appearance approached him asking, Qingsong, what's the situation? Big brother. As soon as he saw the young man, Lu Qingsong called out and then said, it should just be a passing Foundation establishment cultivator, but we can't rule out the possibility of a disguise by a robber cultivator. Let me know immediately if there's anything. Lu Pingan nodded. White Tiger Mountain is guarded by the 9 Netherhound, and whenever there's trouble, it's Lu Qingsong who handles it with the 9 Netherhound. Thus no one yet knows his true strength. Having just witnessed this, knowing that Lu Qingsong could handle it, he simply observed from the sidelines without intervening immediately. "Don't worry, big brother." Lu Qingsong smiled, aware of his big brother's generous nature. He had been devoted to cultivation at White Tiger Mountain for years and never involved himself in affairs. However, he always expressed concern at the first sign of trouble, asking if help was needed. Boom boom boom. As the two chatted, just as they were preparing to return and rest, they suddenly heard a series of loud booms. They saw the second-order great formation of White Tiger Mountain surge with spiritual light, flickering uncertainly in the night. "It's him? This magic aura, it's those three from earlier." Lu Pingan looked towards the mountain gate and sensed through the magic aura that it was those three. It appears those three are unquestionably robber cultivators. Lu Qingsong's expression chilled as he gravely surmised what was happening. The three had pretended to be actors, undoubtedly aiming to infiltrate White Tiger Mountain or to test its defenses. Confirming that the mountain was guarded only by a second-order spiritual beast, they now took aggressive action. After all, although a second-order spiritual beast is powerful, it cannot control the Great Formation. Without a Foundation Establishment cultivator to control it, the formation's offensive and defensive capabilities are both reduced by a grade. Over these years, the reason other family forces haven't interfered with White Tiger Mountain, besides the 9 Netherhound, is entirely because of the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family. Should White Tiger Mountain face danger, not only the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family but also nearby forces like Tai Mulim Mo family and Shisha Ning family could immediately come to aid. The brothers hurried towards the mountain gate. But they saw those three robber cultivators currently attacking the White Tiger Mountain array. The three were clearly well prepared. Not only did they have a prohibition-breaking artifact as large as a hill bombarding White Tiger Mountain, but they also had prepared a prohibition-breaking talisman. Under such an attack, the array's mist dissipated and its spiritual light dimmed. "Big brother, it seems you need to take action now." Seeing this scene, Lu Qingsong's expression became grave, aware that these people were well prepared and that defeating them wouldn't be so simple. Thus he planned to have Lu Pingan act with the 9 Netherhound. "Okay, leave it to me." Lu Pingan responded gravely, his energy slowly revitalizing within him. "Big brother, be careful, I will use the formation to support you." Lu Qingsong continued. He knew that his big brother had already broken through the foundation. However, he was unsure of his exact combat strength. So, he thought of having his big brother lead the 9 Netherhound while he controlled the formation to make the three retreat. No need for that. Lu Pingan shook his head, swiftly moving to a courtyard where a dark golden great bow appeared in his hands. He then focused his gaze outside the formation at the Foundation Establishment cultivator controlling the Great Mountain magical artifact, raising his hand, pulling the bowstring. "Big brother?" Lu Qingsong, seeing this, didn't understand what his big brother intended to do. Was he really planning to shoot the Foundation from here? How is that possible? But in the next moment, he was startled by the overwhelming spiritual pressure emanating from his big brother. Lu Pingan seemed to become one with the dark golden great bow, like the womb of a bow. His heart pumped like the drumbeat of a god or demon, thumping rhythmically and bursting with boundless vital energy, slowly forming a golden divine arrow crackling with thunder and lightning on the bowstring without an arrow. Buzz buzz buzz. As the golden divine arrow formed, Lu Pingan's right arm seemed to thunder and lightning with intense disturbances. Qing Song, at a direction of 63 degrees to the southeast of the formation, slightly opened a gap in the great array. Holding the dark golden great bow, Lu Pingan, striking as a blazing sun, spoke solemnly. "Okay." Hearing this, Lu Qingsong, looking at Lu Pingan before him, swallowed nervously, brought out the array plate and called out, "Big brother ready. Open." Buzz. Instantly, with a surge of wind and thunder, a rainbow-like golden lightning streak pierced through the void, shooting out rapidly. "Ah, not good. Be careful." Outside the mountain gate, the three Foundation Establishment cultivators attacking the array saw a golden arrow burst through White Tiger Mountain, all of them shocked, feeling a palpable chill. Boom boom boom. The cultivator controlling the Great Mountain magical artifact saw the rolling thunder and golden feathered arrow directly targeting him, immediately cried out in horror, quickly retreating as layers of protective aura formed around him. But the layers of protective aura shattered in an instant, and his entire head exploded like a watermelon under the golden thunderous arrow. This? Lu Qingsong, seeing this, was completely stunned, totally baffled. He actually shot and killed the Foundation cultivator? And with a single arrow. His big brother had just broken through Foundation establishment a few years ago, hadn't he? How did he possess such formidable power? He was utterly baffled, feeling as if in a dreamlike state. Not just him, the patrolling cultivators of White Tiger Mountain, the two robber cultivators outside the gate, all wore expressions of shock and amazement, wondering what was happening. How did an arrow suddenly appear and kill a Foundation cultivator? Was it a talisman treasure, or some exotic treasure? Second, magic. This is the magic aura. White Tiger Mountain has a great cultivator of the Foundation establishment late stage. Go, let's leave now. Chapter 1039. There are 3 million sword cultivators in the world, but they must all lower their brows when they see me. Chapter 1039. Chapter 367. There are 3 million sword cultivators in the world, but they must all lower their brows when they see me. The remaining 2 Foundation establishment cultivators, seeing this, dared not hesitate and quickly transformed into escape lights to flee, fearing another golden arrow would be shot at them. Although they had a purpose for this trip, their main goal was still wealth, and they couldn't possibly sacrifice their lives here. Seeing the remaining 2 in a panic-stricken flight, Lu Pingan let out a long breath and put away the dark gold bow. The arrow he had just shot had been the condensation of the thunderstorm ring technique and magical powers mastered from elder ancestor of the Su family. It endowed his attack with the force of wind and lightning. This was his first time using it in real combat, and its power proved quite effective. Not only could he fend off the enemy, but he also didn't need to reveal his own strength. Big brother? Lu Qingsong was still dumbfounded as he looked at his elder brother. To be within White Tiger Mountain, yet a single arrow shot from such a distance had killed a Foundation establishment cultivator. He simply couldn't comprehend such strength. Before my breakthrough to Foundation establishment, I encountered some serendipity. My body refinement has already broken through to the 2nd level, so my strength is a bit stronger than an average Foundation establishment cultivator, Lu Pingan said gently to his younger brother as he smiled and explained. 2nd level body refinement? Stronger than an average Foundation establishment cultivator by several points? Lu Qingsong, upon hearing such words, didn't know what to say for a moment. He understood 2nd level body refinement. But he couldn't grasp how one arrow could kill a Foundation establishment cultivator. After all, being only slightly stronger than another cultivator, it would be quite difficult to kill them, let alone instantly. Even though his older brother's arrow just now had an element of surprise, such strength couldn't simply be explained by being several points stronger. Lu Qingsong didn't continue to press Lu Pingan for details but took a deep breath, nodded and said, "Good with you, big brother. Holding down White Tiger Mountain, I can rest easy in the future." At this moment he understood why their father had assigned his older brother to hold down White Tiger Mountain. Because their father had always been clear about Lu Pingan's strength. With him there, White Tiger Mountain could indeed rest easy. "Big brother, I'll go handle the situation," Lu Qingsong continued, quickly stepping forward to manage the situation at the mountain gate. He didn't explain whether it was him or someone else who had acted just now. The unknown is fearsome, incalculable might. Often the unknown methods are more daunting. He had the 9 Netherhound bring back the outside bodies of the Foundation establishment cultivators, took their magic artifacts and storage bags, then with a cold and authoritative air, ordered one person, "Hang this corpse outside the mountain gate, and tell others that if any robber cultivator dares to attack White Tiger Mountain, they will meet the same fate." Yes, Mountain Master. White Tiger Mountain had not only the cultivators from the Zhao family of yesteryears, but also those from Tai Mulam Mo family and the Ning family of Shi Mountain. The incident just now had filled them all with dread. The 2 Foundation establishment robber cultivators had been able to sense a trace of Foundation establishment mana from the arrow. These people were merely energy-refining cultivators. They couldn't be certain whether it was someone's direct action or some treasure involved. And with no Foundation establishment cultivator sitting in White Tiger Mountain, with Mountain Master Lu Qingsong having just disappeared, they speculated that Lu Qingsong must possess some exotic treasure. After all, Lu Qingsong's father, Lu Changxing, was considered a legendary figure. He dared to have a son in the Qi refinement realm hold down and control White Tiger Mountain. How could he possibly not provide him with an ace up his sleeve? News of the events at White Tiger Mountain spread to the surrounding family forces the next day. Everyone who heard this news was utterly shocked. Indeed, to kill a Foundation establishment cultivator with a single arrow was terrifying. Who wouldn't be fearful upon hearing of such means? Several families friendly with By Lake Mountain and White Tiger Mountain even sent people under the guise of a visit to check the situation at White Tiger Mountain. When they saw the headless corpse hanging outside the mountain gate and confirmed it was a Foundation establishment cultivator, they were all internally shaken. They conjectured wildly about what sort of methods Lu Changxing had hidden in White Tiger Mountain. Meanwhile, at Jinlong Ridge Jin family, quite the White Tiger Mountain, quite the Lu Changxing, truly well hidden. The patriarch of Jin family looked at the information in his hand, his expression slightly condensed. Those 3 robber cultivators that appeared on White Tiger Mountain last night obviously didn't go there for no reason to plunder. It was he who wanted to test By Lake Mountain, had someone issue a bounty task, provided prohibition-breaking talismans and forbidden technique artifacts, that resulted in 3 robber cultivators willing to make a move against White Tiger Mountain. Otherwise, under normal circumstances, robber cultivators wouldn't expend great cost to forcefully attack a certain family. Unless that family possessed some kind of fortuitous treasure, and lacked a Foundation establishment cultivator in charge. The patriarch of Jin family didn't hesitate and went straight to report this news to the elder ancestor of his family. At By Lake Mountain, 3 robber cultivators killed by a single arrow. Lu Changxing looked at the information coming from White Tiger Mountain and chuckled. Others might not know what happened, but he as the father was crystal clear. After all, the means Lu Pingan used were all given to him by his father. With Pingan holding down White Tiger Mountain, unless a false core took action, there shouldn't be any danger. Lu Changxing exhaled softly. However, even though that was what he said after such an incident at White Tiger Mountain, he still made a trip outside to check on the situation. Moreover, this sudden attack by 3 robber cultivators also made him speculate whether it had something to do with other powers. Especially since the demon subjugation order had just concluded, it would be unlikely for any robber cultivators to show up and cause trouble at this time. In Yu country, Jinyang sect. Qingshan, how confident are you in this journey to Heavenly Sword sect to ask for a sword duel? Tianyuan True Immortal, dressed in a grand red robe, her figure voluptuous and charming, took a delicate sip from the wine gourd in her hand, her face slightly flushed and lazily said. Back when the Purple Shadow Secret Realm ended, Lu Qingshan promised Yu Jinren of the Heavenly Sword sect to visit for a sword duel within 10 years. Now, with only 1 year left of the decade-long promise, she was preparing to send Lu Qingshan to the Heavenly Sword sect for the duel. Lu Qingshan, with a handsome face and piercing eyes, listened to his master's words, his expression serene and confidently said, "Among the 3 million sword cultivators in the world, all must lower their gazes upon seeing me." Tianyuan True Immortal was speechless upon hearing her disciple's words. After a while she finally spoke, "Say these words in front of me if you like, but if you speak them at the Heavenly Sword sect, I won't be able to protect you." Haha, isn't this just showing that I'm confident and assured? Lu Qingshan smiled and replied. While it's a sword duel, Yujin Jinren intends to use you to hone his sect's disciples. When we get to the Heavenly Sword sect, keep the actual dueling separate and remember to be somewhat mindful. Tianyuan True Immortal spoke earnestly, revealing a bit of a serious expression as she instructed her disciple. This trip to the Heavenly Sword sect was a great chance for her disciple to be tempered. But she knew well the nature of her disciple, reckless to the extreme. And the sword cultivators of the Heavenly Sword sect wouldn't be much different. If this disciple gave no face to the Heavenly Sword sect's disciples during the duels, it could easily cause trouble. Don't worry, Master. Chapter 1040, Questioning the Sword at Heavenly Sword Sect. Chapter 1040, Chapter 368, Questioning the Sword at Heavenly Sword Sect. Lu Changxing arrived at White Tiger Mountain and saw the headless corpse hanging at the mountain gate. He thought to himself, his son's actions were truly domineering and aggressive. Foundation establishment cultivators are prominent figures wherever they go, akin to the old ancestors of a region. Such figures were now hanging as bodies on display, serving as a form of intimidation. However, although this act was inconsistent with his usual behavior, he wouldn't say anything about it. Father. Hearing of Lu Changxing's arrival, Lu Qingsong immediately notified his older brother Lu Pingan, seventh brother Lu Xianji, and others to come to greet him. Lu Changxing looked at his children and gave a slight nod, briefly inquiring about the events of the previous night and the matters regarding the robber cultivators. Learning that the 3 robber cultivators had come prepared but were unlike the local Family Forces Foundation establishment cultivators and had no suspicious items on them, Lu Changxing did not probe further. He merely instructed them to be more careful and vigilant in their daily routines. Afterward, he checked on the well-being of his other children and accompanied Lu Xianxia and a few others to visit the puppet workshop and the artifact refining workshop. Seeing that there were no issues, Lu Changxing then returned to Bai Lake Mountain. At this time, the news from White Tiger Mountain had also reached the ears of his wives and children at home. Like Lu Miaohuan, because her son Lu Qingsong was in charge at White Tiger Mountain, even knowing that there was no trouble, she sought out Lu Changxing at the first opportunity to ask about the situation. Hee. Lu Changxing embraced his wife's slender waist, indicating that their son Lu Qingsong was fine. He also praised his son for his excellent performance, managing White Tiger Mountain in perfect order. It might be the pressure from his brother Lu Qingshan, or perhaps the desire to make his mother proud, but Lu Qingsong had indeed worked hard and performed well over the years. Otherwise, if he had not been capable, despite the connections through Lu Miaoga and Lu Miaohuan, Lu Changxing would have replaced him at White Tiger Mountain long ago. Dad, what is this treasure that can kill a Foundation establishment with a single arrow? Give me one. Lu Wangshu, upon hearing the news, thought it might be some talisman or treasure and pleaded with her father with a flattering face. Her own father was incredibly wealthy, often able to produce some treasures she had never seen before. And she could never have too many treasures. This is something your big brother achieved through his own true skill. Lu Changxing glanced at his daughter and spoke. Pingan. Pingan has only recently broken through to Foundation establishment, so how could he kill a Foundation establishment with a single arrow? Lu Miaohuan and the others were surprised to hear this. Their main impression of Lu Pingan was still from the years when he had just broken through to Foundation establishment. They had not expected that Lu Pingan, soon after his breakthrough, would be capable of killing a Foundation establishment cultivator. This was quite astonishing. Pingan has several magic artifacts from me. His combat power is above average for Foundation establishment cultivators. Lu Changxing didn't want to explain his spoilt son's actions and Lu Pingan's fortuitous encounters, so he kept it simple. After speaking, he looked at his daughter Lu Wangshu and said, "Train diligently, and when you break through to Foundation establishment, your father has also prepared something for you." Lu Wangshu had broken through to the 9th level energy refinement half a year ago. She was estimated to be able to attempt Foundation establishment in another 4 to 5 years. Dad, rest assured I will strive to achieve Foundation establishment as soon as possible. Lu Wangshu had taken the preserving youth pill and still looked to be 17 or 18 years old, with a bright, pure face. Hearing this, Lu Miaohuan and the others did not continue to ask further questions. After all, their husband's treasures were indeed too numerous. With the means provided by Lu Changxing, killing a Foundation establishment with a single arrow was conceivable. Like Lu Miaohuan, she also gave the vermilion bird ring, a talisman treasure given to her by Lu Changxing, for her son Lu Qingsong to carry with him. Husband, when Qingshan said he would visit Heavenly Sword Sect to challenge their swordsmanship after Foundation establishment, why haven't we heard any news about this for so many years? At this moment, Lu Miaohuan thought of her eldest son Lu Qingshan and asked Lu Changxing. Qingshan may be busy with other matters. I have had people pay attention to news from the Heavenly Sword Sect. As long as Qingshan goes to the Heavenly Sword Sect for a sword contest, making a disturbance, news will come back. Lu Changxing responded in a gentle voice. He had previously heard from Lu Qingshan that not only did he intend to participate in the 5-sects competition for Jianghu sect in Yu country, but he also planned to enter the Qingming secret realm. So many years had passed, and his son must have completed those activities. However, judging by Lu Qingshan's cultivation level, having only reached the 2nd level of Foundation establishment, Lu Changxing guessed his son hadn't obtained any significant opportunities. Of course, it's also possible that after Lu Qingshan's Foundation establishment, he spent much of his time on techniques or other aspects. Heavenly Sword Sect. As the overlord of Jianghu country, the only nascent soul-level power with a 4th-order spirit vein, the Heavenly Sword Sect naturally exuded an imposing grandeur. Among the continuous majestic mountains stood peaks as straight and tall as swords reaching for the skies. Some of these mountain peaks were lush with greenery and full of spiritual medicine, some were shrouded in mist with pavilions and palaces built upon them, and some had waterfalls flowing like silver dragons, magnificent and awe-inspiring. In the central position stood a peak like a divine sword, seeming to pierce through the heavens, invoking fear in onlookers and making them feel their own insignificance. Whoosh! A divine rainbow with tremendous spiritual pressure descended outside the Heavenly Sword sect. As the rosy light faded, a giant gourd appeared with a woman in her 30s, stunningly beautiful and dressed in a luxurious red gown, standing on it. Next to her was a young man with sword-shaped eyebrows and starry eyes with handsome features, along with a gentle and elegant young lady. Is this the Heavenly Sword sect? The three people on the gourd were none other than Tianyuan True Immortal, who had come to challenge the Heavenly Sword sect, along with Lu Qingshan and Lu Qingzhu. Lu Qingshan looked at Heavenly Sword sect before him, his eyes bright with a warlike spirit. He was naturally well aware of the big name of the Heavenly Sword sect. Even as a child, he had once dreamed of joining the Heavenly Sword sect. Heavenly Sword sect. Lu Qingzhu also observed Jiang country's #1 immortal sect, continually assessing it. May I know what brings the true immortal here today? Chapter 1041. Questioning the Heavenly Sword sect. Chapter 1041. Chapter 368. Questioning the Heavenly Sword sect. The disciples stationed at the gate of the Heavenly Sword sect saw Tianyuan approaching with two others and immediately spoke respectfully. Tianyuan True Immortal did not speak. Such ordinary station disciples were not qualified to converse with her. Soon after, a sword light shot out from the Heavenly Sword sect, revealing a middle-aged man in his 30s with a majestic demeanor. Upon seeing Tianyuan, he clasped his hands together and bowed. May I know the purpose of Tianyuan True Immortal's visit to our Heavenly Sword sect? I have met true person Huangjian. Unlike her usual carefree demeanor, Tianyuan held an air of nobility and authority, slightly bowing her hands. She then spoke aloud, I am here at the invitation of Yu Jianjinren to bring my disciple Lu Qingshan to inquire about the sword. Inquire about the sword. Upon hearing this, true person Huangjian immediately turned his attention to Lu Qingshan on the gourd. As a sword cultivator true monarch, he could tell at a glance that Lu Qingshan was a sword cultivator. His entire being radiated a sharp edge, a sword intent that could shake the heavens. What a promising sword Dao talent! True person Huangjian exclaimed in praise. Among sword cultivators, one could often gauge the depth of another's ability through their aura and sword intent. A sword Dao talent like Lu Qingshan was like a torch in the night, obviously not ordinary at first glance. No wonder he was invited to inquire about the sword. Tianyuan True Immortal, please wait a moment, I will inform my brother Yujin to make arrangements for the young friend. True person Huangjian spoke. For those who came to inquire about the sword, their Heavenly Sword sect always took it seriously. After all, those daring enough to challenge the Heavenly Sword sect, and those invited to do so, were all top-tier talents. Therefore, facing such an inquiry about the sword, their Heavenly Sword sect needed to prepare slightly. They couldn't just randomly send a few disciples to spar. Before long, a cold-looking youth of about 15 or 16 came over. It was Yu Jianjinren from the Purple Shadow Secret Realm days. After a brief greeting with Tianyuan, he looked at Lu Qingshan and said, It seems, young friend Qingshan, that your mastery of the sword Dao has progressed greatly these past years. He could tell that Lu Qingshan's sword intent was not only sharper, but also carried an aura of unmatched dominance. This was an attitude he was very familiar with, the kind fostered by continually victorious battles. Young Lu Qingshan greeting Yu Jianjinren. Lu Qingshan clasped his hands and bowed. Since the other had waived his obligation to contribute spiritual medicine back then, his impression of this Yu Jianjinren was quite positive. Tianyuan True Immortal, young Qingshan, you both should settle down first and rest well. The matter of sword inquiry will be arranged to start in 7 days. Yu Jianjinren led the three to a mountain courtyard within the Heavenly Sword sect. Many thanks, true lord. Lu Qingshan clasped his hands in thanks. After settling Lu Qingshan and Lu Qingzhu, Tianyuan turned to Yu Jianjinren and said, Yu Jianjinren, for this sword inquiry, I hope your sect does not hold back. Normally, being a mentor, one should be very pleased with an excellent disciple. Previously, Tianyuan indeed felt this way, growing more and more satisfied with her disciple Lu Qingshan. However, following the events of the Purple Shadow Secret Realm, the 5 Sects Tournament, and the Qingming Secret Realm, Tianyuan noticed a problematic aspect in her disciple's character. Too arrogant and proud. This arrogance was not reckless and wild but was a deep-rooted pride, an arrogance. He believed he was unbeaten among his peers and was confident of his invincibility in the future. Nothing in the world could make him shrink back or fear. This was a trait seen in many talents. but it was particularly pronounced in Lu Qingshan. Tian Yuan deeply realized that this character trait would lead to severe setbacks in the future. And when setbacks came, they could cause substantial losses, possibly even the loss of life and cessation of his Tao. After all, divine skills are no match for fate. Not to say just a foundation establishment cultivator, even nascent soul immortals and core formation true lords could perish by mischance. Lu Qingshan was merely at the foundation establishment level, his cultivation path had just begun, and he still had countless hardships and dangers to face ahead. Thus, on this trip to the Heavenly Sword sect, while she outwardly told Lu Qingshan to tread carefully, internally she had already planned for the Heavenly Sword sect to let her disciple face some setbacks to temper his character. Not to walk around daily with an air of invincibility, disregarding others entirely. Being proud is quite normal for a talent, please rest assured, Tian Yuan true immortal. Yujian Jinren naturally understood Tian Yuan's intention. Which young talent wasn't overwhelmingly arrogant. Especially sword cultivators who value resolute heart and a spirit of invincibility, are even more so on this matter. He invited Lu Qingshan to the Heavenly Sword sect for a sword inquiry, also thinking of using the opportunity to temper his own disciples, to know there are others above them. When they leave the sect in the future, to maintain a measure of caution and reverence towards other cultivators. I appreciate your troubles, Yujian Jinren. Tian Yuan spoke earnestly. Her own disciple truly had exceptional talent. But she respected and acknowledged the nascent soul-level sword cultivation sect of the Heavenly Sword sect, knowing its profound heritage. She had even heard that this generation in the Heavenly Sword sect had produced a prodigy with the supreme sword bone. Yujian Jinren glanced at Lu Qingshan, who was laughing and playing with his sister Lu Qingzhu in the distance. He thought the lad, though possessed of an overwhelming sword intent and an aura of invincibility, seemed to have a good temperament. Not someone arrogant or disdainful. He mused that Tian Yuan, although a true pill master, still did not quite understand sword cultivators. 7 days later. Heavenly Sword Sect, Sword Inquiry Platform. Under the arrangements of Yujian Jinren, the affair of Lu Qingshan's sword inquiry was made known to the Heavenly Sword Sect, and many disciples came to watch. After all, sword inquiring was a hallmark of the Heavenly Sword Sect. It occurred almost every few years, and during these times, core formation true lords would come to watch the swordplay. Those who performed well during the event might also receive awards afterward. Chapter 1042. Questioning Sword at the Heavenly Sword Sect. Chapter 1042, Chapter 368, Questioning Sword at the Heavenly Sword Sect. Not to be underestimated, the Heavenly Sword Sect indeed stands out. Lu Qingshan beheld the sight before him, disciples of the Heavenly Sword Sect dressed in white sword robes, and couldn't help but voice his admiration. The Heavenly Sword Sect was unlike other sections. All disciples were sword cultivators practicing sword techniques. It was fine when in groups of 3 or 5 or even more than 10. But now, with hundreds of sword cultivators gathered, each with a sharp and pointed aura, the feeling was different. Brother, you can do it. Lu Qingzhu cheered for her own brother. Although in the eyes of Tianyuan true immortal, Lu Qingshan was extremely proud and looked down on others. In Lu Qing's eyes, her own brother was the best in the world. Even when she heard others say her brother was arrogant, she felt it was only natural for her brother to be so impressive. His progress in cultivation was lightning fast, and he could master any sword technique or spell after a single practice. Wasn't a bit of arrogance to be expected? Ha ha ha, watch your brother's performance. Lu Qingshan habitually ruffled his sister's hair and grinned. Qingshan, remember the words your master told you. Tianyuan true immortal instructed his disciple. Master, rest assured. Lu Qingshan knew his master was telling him not to kill with a single sword stroke right away, to give others some face. He stood on the sword inquiry platform, tall and noble, and bowed to the crowd below. Jianghu sect's Lu Qingshan has come to inquire about swordsmanship at the Heavenly Sword sect today, seeking guidance from all the Taoists here. When he finished speaking, a golden magical sword appeared in his hand, his whole body enveloped in a soaring sword intent, as if he could tear the sky asunder, shifting the sun and the moon an unstoppable force. Shoo, what astonishing sword intent! What kind of sword intent is this? Jianghu sect's Lu Qingshan, I've heard of this man. He won first place in the sword trial of the 5 great immortal sects of Yu country 6 years ago. It's him, the sword cultivator from the Purple Shadow secret realm. Didn't expect this person to actually come to our Heavenly Sword sect to inquire about swordsmanship. The disciples of the Heavenly Sword sect looked at Lu Qingshan on the sword inquiry platform and immediately stirred up discussions. This young man has such an impressive sword intent. To have nurtured such sword intent at a young age, his talent in the sword Dao is truly extraordinary. Several true immortals from the Heavenly Sword sect came to watch the duel, looking at Lu Qingshan on the platform and commenting. They all understood why Yu Jinzhenren had invited Lu Qingshan to come and inquire about swordsmanship. Wu Jiu, please enlighten Daoist Lu. Instantly, a figure about 30 years old leaped onto the platform and said coldly to Lu Qingshan. Didn't expect senior brother Wu to take the stage so soon. This Lu Qingshan managed to win first place in the grand competition of the 5 sects of Yu country, quite extraordinary. Indeed, if one didn't have real ability and went up, it would only result in humiliation. Immediately, disciples spoke up, indicating that this Wu Jiu was quite formidable. Please. Lu Qingshan, dressed in the Jianghu sect disciples' attire, tall and straight, made a welcoming gesture. Wu Jiu did not stand on ceremony and sacrificed a sword bead against Lu Qingshan. This sword inquiry appeared informal, but with several nascent soul immortals observing, there was no concern for unexpected events during the process. Clang clang clang. Facing the incoming sword bead, Lu Qingshan was calm and composed, his magical sword slashing out beams of sword light. Sword light clashed with sword bead, sparks flying. Such a sharp sword chi. Wu Jiu felt his own life-bound sword pellet tremble faintly after just exchanging blows and was shocked. He didn't dare to hesitate and immediately made a gesture incantation, attacking with all his might. But Lu Qingshan still stood unshaken, waving his magical sword and casually neutralizing his opponent's attack. Moments later, Lu Qingshan unleashed a streak of sword light that slashed out like a meteor colliding with the sun, causing the sword bead to fly backward. Wu Jiu's face instantly turned pale and he staggered. Hiss, so strong. Junior brother Wu Jiu had just given his all, yet he failed to even shake him in the slightest. The disciples of Heavenly Sword sect below were astonished. My gratitude. Lu Qingshan looked at Wu Jiu and slightly bowed with his hands clasped. I've lost. Wu Jiu took a deep breath, recognizing that his power was not on the same level as his opponents. As he stepped down from the platform, a slender young man approached the sword inquiry platform. Luo Yijian, please advise. It's junior brother Luo. Although he's only at the 3rd level of foundation establishment, his divine sense is incredibly strong. The myriad sword art he cultivated can manipulate 36 flying swords. I heard that senior brother Luo once used those 36 flying swords to kill a demon cultivator at the middle stage of foundation establishment. Upon hearing these discussions, Lu Qingshan's eyebrows rose slightly, his expression calm as he made a welcoming gesture. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Luo Yijian didn't stand on ceremony, slapping his storage bag, a row of 3-inch flying swords poured out, exploding with 7 colored sword lights, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet, hurtling towards Lu Qingshan. Although most of the flying swords were only magic artifacts, their might was nevertheless astonishing. Nicely done. As Lu Qingshan watched this scene, the magical sword in his hand swung, creating layers of sword chi swirling all around him like a vortex-shaped shield, enveloping his body and constantly flowing, causing the sharp sword chi to undulate against each other. Clang clang clang. One after another, the flying sword struck at Lu Qingshan, clashing against his sword chi shield, creating a series of crisp sounds and sparks flying in all directions. Then, threads of sword chi around Lu Qingshan, like small serpents, entwined and attacked the flying swords, causing constant metallic clangs, which gradually dimmed the flying swords in the process. I've lost. Luo Yijian, seeing this, knew that if his opponent had not been lenient, his flying swords would have likely been cut in two. What about senior brother Luo's sword array? Why didn't I see him use it? With this Lu Qingshan's ability to manifest sword chi, under his sword chi, junior brother Luo's sword array simply can't take form. Sword energy formation. Wasn't he just at the initial stage of foundation establishment? Very well, sword energy formation, interesting. I shall meet you. The Heavenly Sword sect disciples in the arena were abuzz with discussion, and instantly another challenger took the stage. Hiss, it's senior brother Zhao. This should be stable now. However, Lu Qingshan is only at the initial stage of foundation establishment. Senior brother Zhao has long broken through to the middle stage, Even if he wins, it wouldn't be a respectful victory. Since it's a sword inquiry, senior brother Zhao will naturally suppress his mana to the initial stage of foundation establishment. Watching the middle-aged man who stepped onto the platform, more voices rose from below. This middle-aged man, unlike the previous two, wielded a magical sword with wide and forceful swings, aggressive and domineering. But after a few evenly matched exchanges at the start, Lu Qingshan's offense grew increasingly fierce, making it difficult for senior brother Zhao to fend off, forcing him to use his mid-stage foundation establishment power and admit defeat. For a moment, the disciples of Heavenly Sword Sect also began to sense something amiss. They realized that Lu Qingshan was intentionally engaging each person for a few exchanges before really making a move to defeat them. Otherwise, with the capability to defeat senior brother Zhao like that, the earlier Wu Jiao and Luo Yijian probably couldn't have withstood a few of Lu Qingshan's strikes. Faced with this situation, some were astonished at Lu Qingshan's strength, while others felt slighted as if they were looked down upon. It seems I have underestimated this young man. Yujian Jinren watched Lu Qingshan on the sword inquiry platform and suddenly understood why Tianyuan True Immortal had told his Heavenly Sword Sect not to hold back. Because with Lu Qingshan's level of ability, their ordinary disciples were truly not his match. Immediately, he transmitted a message to a disciple. Han Jing, suppress your cultivation level to the initial stage of foundation establishment and try with Lu Qingshan. He continued to transmit messages, ordering people to summon several nascent soul seed disciples from the sect. Chapter 1043, Divine Power Fruit, Cultivation of the Yin-Yang Creation Scripture. Chapter 1043, Chapter 369, Divine Power Fruit, Cultivation of the Yin-Yang Creation Scripture. Yes, Martial Uncle. The youth called Han Jing nodded. He exuded a cold and sharp aura as he stepped onto the sword inquiry platform and bowed towards Lu Qingshan, saying, Han Jing seeks your advice. What, brother Han Jing has taken the stage already. When junior brother Han Jing made his breakthrough to foundation establishment, he had already grasped the second realm of Sword Dao Sword Energy Formation, and now, at the middle stage of foundation establishment, he has already touched upon the third realm of Sword Dao Sword Energy Thunder Sound. Among his peers, there are few enemies, and even if he suppresses his cultivation to the early stage of foundation establishment, it still seems a bit like bullying. Yes, with brother Han so quickly entering the fray, even if we win, it seems like our Heavenly Sword Sect is winning without honor. The disciples of the Heavenly Sword Sect buzzed with conversation and showed their confusion at seeing Han Jing take the stage. There was an unspoken rule in sword inquiries. That is, those who took the stage for the sword inquiry would go from weakest to strongest. Like Han Jing, he was a name that mattered within the Heavenly Sword Sect. Once he took to the stage, many disciples of the Heavenly Sword Sect felt they had no chance at all to dispute swords with Lu Qingshan. Please impart your knowledge. Lu Qingshan looked at the imposing Han Jing in front of him, nodded slightly, and a hint of seriousness showed in his eyes. The two began to cross swords. Han Jing, compared to the previous three, was clearly on a whole different level. He produced a finely crafted tiny sword only inches in length, causing the sword inquiry platform to suddenly burst with a sharp and biting aura, so intense it was difficult to face directly. Then, like an oncoming tide, domineering sword chi rolled towards Lu Qingshan, accompanied by bursts of thunderous noise, sounding as though it was calling for 1,000 cuts. Lu Qingshan meanwhile held a golden magical sword, his sword chi like a galaxy or a brilliant sun, swallowing the stars, vast and unending. Sword Energy Thunder Sound. Brother Han Jing has mastered the Sword Energy Thunder Sound. Wait, this Lu Qingshan has mastered Sword Energy Thunder Sound too? Hiss, this person has only just broken through foundation establishment a few years ago, and he has already mastered Sword Energy Thunder Sound. Such Sword Dao talent is simply astonishing. If Lu Qingshan were part of our Heavenly Sword Sect, I reckon he would have been at the level of a Sword Sun. No wonder brother Han went straight to the stage. It turns out that he had seen all along that Lu Qingshan was no ordinary individual, never using his full strength. The disciples of the Heavenly Sword Sect couldn't help but exclaim in surprise as they watched the two fight on the sword inquiry platform. Indeed, there were many cultivators who came to the Heavenly Sword Sect for sword inquiries. But one with such extraordinary talent like Lu Qingshan was indeed rare. Clang, clang, clang. On the sword inquiry platform, the two continued to exchange blows. Ultimately, faced with Lu Qingshan's relentless offense, Han Jing, employing the mana of his middle stage of foundation establishment, could only concede defeat. This brother Han lost. How is this possible? That Lu Qingshan, such a swordsman, and he's not from our Heavenly Sword sect. The disciples of the Heavenly Sword sect watched Han Jing concede, all somewhat incredulous. It must be known, in Jianghu country, their Heavenly Sword sect was held in highest esteem among sword cultivators. Jianghu sect was decent, but it was only a nascent soul-level power, and its sword Dao was just one of its branches. Yet now, such a startlingly talented sword cultivator actually came from the Jianghu sect, which left them in disbelief. Brother Han, our sword Dao exchange is not yet over, why worry about mana realms? You should fight with all your strength. At that moment, Lu Qingshan, looking at the conceding Han Jing, said this. He had gained a lot from the exchange. Because although the Jianghu sect had sword techniques, there weren't many. Over the years he had comprehended all of the Jianghu sect's sword techniques and learned them. Just now in their exchange, he had gained insight from his opponent's sword techniques and sword intent. He wanted to seize this opportunity to integrate all kinds of sword intent into his body, slowly forging his unique path within the sword Dao. After all, no matter what sword techniques or methods are used, they are the sword Dao of the predecessors, not one's own sword Dao. Only one's own sword Dao is the most suitable. What? He's actually telling Brother Han to not hold back because of mana realms. Junior Brother Han is at the 5th layer of foundation establishment, and Lu Qingshan is but at the 2nd layer. If it were some talentless loose cultivator, a difference of one realm wouldn't matter, but among our Heavenly Sword sect disciples, who aren't all outstanding in their own realms, it's simply too disdainful not to take Brother Han seriously. Damn it, if our sect is beaten by this young man, where will our Heavenly Sword sect's face be? The disciples of the Heavenly Sword sect below the stage were in an uproar after hearing this. Some were surprised, some sighed, and some were indignant. Very well. Han Jing, hearing this, his eyes slightly narrowing, his aura compelling, coldly responded. Losing to Lu Qingshan, he too felt choked up inside. He wanted to see just where the other's limit lay. And such a pure exchange in the sword Dao was fruitful for him. In an instant, the two on the stage continued their fight. It seems that within the Heavenly Sword sect, of those of the same age and level, there are not many who can discipline Qingshan. Tian Yuan, true Immortal, watched the two on the sword inquiry platform and sighed inwardly. She had come to the Heavenly Sword sect hoping they could teach Lu Qingshan a lesson, to show him the vastness of the world. Such teaching must come through a strong and overwhelming defeat of Lu Qingshan. But now it seemed difficult for the Heavenly Sword sect to find such disciples. If during this sword inquiry no one can get him under control, won't he see others as nothing but chickens and dogs afterwards, people he could easily defeat? Tian Yuan, true Immortal, was concerned. She wondered if she should take Lu Qingshan out to experience the dangers of the cultivation world later on. It was easy to dodge an open spear but hard to guard against a hidden arrow. With such a temperament, what he most feared were hidden dangers. Tian Yuan, true Immortal, has accepted a fine disciple. At this time, Yujian Jinren, watching the two on the sword inquiry platform, transmitted a message to Tian Yuan, true Immortal, somewhat emotional. He had invited Lu Qingshan to the Heavenly Sword sect for a sword inquiry with the intention of using the other to sharpen his own disciples. Now the effect had been achieved. But if his disciples could not defeat Lu Qingshan, it would be somewhat embarrassing. Although he was confident that the disciples of his sect could bear down and defeat Lu Qingshan, if they could not win against Lu Qingshan being of the same age and level, it would ultimately be somewhat unsatisfying. Only the Heavenly Sword sect's true inheritor, unparalleled, matched Lu Qingshan evenly, neither gaining the upper hand. Before leaving, Lu Qingshan carved the character Lu on the Heavenly Sword stele at the Heavenly Sword sect, setting a date for another challenge. At by Lake Mountain, Lu Changxing read the letter in his hands about his son, Lu Qingshan. The Heavenly Sword sect is the premier immortal sect in Jianghu country, a nascent soul-level power, and Qingshan managed to remain unbeaten among peers there, even challenging those beyond his level. Tisk, truly worthy of being my son, Lu Changxing. A faint smile appeared on Lu Changxing's face. Every parent hopes for their sons to be successful and daughters to thrive. Lu Qingshan was a son on whom he had placed great expectations. With such achievements he felt naturally proud as a father. He then looked further down the contents of the message, curious about this unparalleled who could match his son evenly. Unparalleled, a true inheritor of the Heavenly Sword sect, a mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator endowed with supreme sword bone. Lu Changxing was a little surprised upon reading this in the letter, because supreme sword bone was a top-level spiritual body. Lu Qingshan was able to match someone with such an attribute evenly. And that person was at the mid-stage of foundation establishment. Though the cultivation level was suppressed to the initial stage, if both were at the initial stage of foundation establishment, Lu Qingshan's chances of winning would likely be a bit higher. This means that the sword-charging bull's might effect is no less significant than such a spiritual body as the supreme sword bone. Lu Changxing's eyes narrowed slightly as he stroked his chin. At this moment, he finally had a clear understanding of the effects of the seed of law he had obtained. Certainly he had previously known that his son was formidable but lacked a concrete concept. Now, through this sword inquiry at the Heavenly Sword sect, by comparison he knew his son, Lu Qingshan, was not the least bit weaker than someone with a top-level spiritual body, and was even a bit more formidable. However, the astonishing effects of this seed of law on Qingshan also have to do with Qingshan's personality, talent, and efforts. Lu Changxing naturally wouldn't believe that Lu Qingshan's achievements depended solely on the seed of law. Even before having the seed of law, Lu Qingshan had begun to stand out in the Jianghu sect. The seed of law merely turned someone already a genius like Lu Qingshan directly into a demonically brilliant talent. The integration and enhancement of the seed of law is a long-term process. Qingshan's current level is not yet his limit. As he grows, his sword Dao talent can continue to improve. Thinking of the effects of the seed of law, Lu Changxing was filled with expectations for his son's future. Looking at this, the seed of law is indeed a valuable item. I wonder when I might obtain a few more. If a few more were to appear, my Lu family could have several more top-tier talents. Lu Changxing mused eagerly, suddenly anticipating the rarity of such an item even more. He then took the news to his wife Lu Miaohuan, to share this joyous news. The sword inquiry at the Heavenly Sword sect, dominating peers without rival. Lu Miaohuan was dressed in a deep red silk gown, with luxurious black mink draped over her shoulders, regal and supremely elegant. Upon seeing the content of the letter, her cold yet dignified face immediately showed a look of delight and pride. The Heavenly Sword sect was, in her mind, an almost insurmountably powerful entity. Now, not only could her son go there to challenge in the sword inquiry, but he also dominated all the peers from Heavenly Sword sect in the inquiry, competing with top-level spiritual bodies. How could she as a mother not be thrilled and proud? Chapter 1045. Divine Power Fruit, Cultivating the Yin-Yang Creation Scripture. Chapter 1045. Chapter 369. Divine Power Fruit, Cultivating the Yin-Yang Creation Scripture. Husband, with Qingshan challenging the Heavenly Sword sect like this, won't he hurt the sect's pride and invite trouble? A moment later, Lu Miaohuan spoke again with hesitation, worried that her son might offend the Heavenly Sword sect. After all, the Heavenly Sword sect was infamously domineering outside. How could that be? As Jianghu country's #1 immortal sect, the Heavenly Sword sect naturally has the magnanimity of an immortal sect. If they allowed Qingshan to inscribe his name on the Heavenly Sword stele, it's tantamount to recognizing Qingshan. Besides, Qingshan has Tianyuan true Immortal accompanying him on this trip to the Heavenly Sword sect to challenge. Nothing will happen. Lu Changxing embraced his wife's graceful waist, enveloped in her skirt, and spoke with a smile. Though the Heavenly Sword sect might be overbearing, in his view they wouldn't be so petty. Besides, challenging was a tradition of the Heavenly Sword sect. The intention was to use the world's top talents to temper their own disciples. If those who went to challenge could only lose and not win, then the tradition would be meaningless and unlikely to continue. Lu Miaohuan nodded gently and then spoke sentimentally. Qingshan has been to Jianghu country this time and hasn't been able to return even once. Ever since the end of the Purple Shadow Secret Realm, her son returned to the Jianghu sect and, after making his foundation establishment breakthrough, sent only one letter back home. Moreover, this letter arrived by Lake Mountain 2 years after Lu Qingshan's foundation establishment breakthrough. Huan, if you feel bored, we could have a few more children, that way it won't be dull. Lu Changxing embraced his wife's graceful body, picked her up, and made her sit on his lap with her round and pert bottom, whispering into her delicate ear. In her younger years, Lu Miaohuan had a rather playful personality. Later on, after becoming a mother, she gradually became more reserved. Now with both sons grown up, her eldest son far away in Yu country, and her younger son spending most of his time at White Tiger Mountain, she couldn't leave by Lake Mountain due to practicing the heavenly longevity technique, so it was natural for her to feel some boredom. Thus, Lu Changxing was considering letting Lu Miaohuan have another little one to keep her company at home. Though the household had so many children and newborn infants, the ones born by herself for 10 months were inevitably closer to her heart. Husband, upon hearing this, Lu Miaohuan gave Lu Changxing a quizzical look. They were a mature couple, and having more children at this point seemed strange to her. Yet, a part of her was tempted. On one hand, indeed she felt bored at home and believed having a few kids could relieve the boredom. On the other hand, she personally longed for a well-behaved and sensible daughter. Seeing his wife's reaction, Lu Changxing immediately embraced her curvy body and captured her fiery red lips. For a time, the room, filled with ancient charm, was quietly enveloped with the air of spring. Regarding the matter of Lu Qingshan, aside from Lu Miaohuan, Lu Miaoge, and a few others, Lu Changxing didn't overly publicize it. After all, for such matters, those with information channels would naturally become aware, and for familial forces without such channels, there was little point in publicizing. Moreover, he did not wish to be too high profile at this time. During these days, apart from daily cultivation and spending time with Lu Miaohuan, he went to the Red Leaf Valley market with Lu Miaoge to practice the Sun Moon Samsara technique. Among the several females, his and Lu Miaoge's practice of the Sun Moon Samsara technique was the deepest. He was just one step away from touching the profound level of the technique where spirit and divinity intertwined. As introduced by the Sun Moon Samsara technique, such a state of spirit and divinity intermingling could greatly aid one's spirit and divine sense. If practiced to a certain extent, one could even be involved in the mood of reincarnation. Lu Changxing had always hoped to draw a top-tier technique for spirit and divine sense. But having never managed to draw one, he now intended to cultivate soul and divine sense through the Sun Moon Samsara technique. Congratulations to the host on the birth of 500 descendants, granting one lottery draw opportunity. One day, a system notification sounded in Lu Changxing's mind. Did 500 come by unnoticed? Lu Changxing felt rather sentimental upon hearing the system prompt. Now, over 40 years had passed, and the third generation of the Lu family was gradually coming of age, starting their own families and having children. In another few decades, the family's population was likely to snowball and multiply manifold. However, the previous generation of the Lu family didn't seem to have received child money from the system when their children were born. The quantity is there, but the quality still depends on me. Lu Changxing thought about the proportion of children with a spiritual root among those 500 descendants and shook his head slightly. The chances of ordinary parents giving birth to children with a spiritual root were too small, and giving birth to an offspring with exceptional talent was even more difficult. However, once the second generation of the Lu family from by Lake Mountain begins to establish their own families, the quality of the third generation should improve considerably. As a nascent soul cultivator, she had long noticed this disciple occasionally giving her improper looks. And those looks were all too familiar to her, having seen them in many others before. She had regarded it as youthful admiration. But little had she expected that her daughter would act so foolishly with the disciple. After this incident, the master assigned Lu Changxing to go to the frontier, kill demons and temper himself. Upon hearing this, senior sister expressed her desire to accompany her husband, Lu Changxing. The master sighed and nodded in agreement. The couple spent 30 years in the frontier, slaying demons and making quite a name for themselves. As time passed, Lu Changxing advanced to the late stage of foundation establishment and began preparing for core formation. Even with the master's care, core formation was extremely challenging for him. But he was fortunate. Through various opportunities and narrowly escaping danger, he finally gathered enough resources for core formation and prepared for the breakthrough. Your mental spirit is too disturbed. The master, acting as protector for Lu Changxing, noticed his condition and spoke out. I know, master. Lu Changxing replied softly. He didn't know why, but at that moment, looking at his master, he felt an inexplicable unrest inside him, as if the emotions he harbored for her over the years were about to erupt. Focus on your core formation. The master, seeing Lu Changxing in such a state, patted his head like she used to when he was young. When Lu Changxing first began his cultivation in his childhood and encountered problems, it was always her way to comfort him. But as the years passed, they had rarely been this close. Looking at his master's nearly ethereal beauty, Lu Changxing's heart raced. Suddenly, gathering courage from nowhere, he abruptly pulled the master's jade hand and drew her into his embrace. "Ah!" the master exclaimed, wanting to react, but was afraid of hurting Lu Changxing. And realizing Lu Changxing was not in his right state, she assumed that his preparation for core formation had disturbed his mind, giving rise to a heart demon. As she fell into Lu Changxing's embrace, the warm masculine scent enveloped her, and her dreamy, crystal-like beautiful eyes widened, her familiar face approaching hers. In that moment, time seemed to freeze. Wonderful, so wonderful. Lu Changxing kissed his master's lips, his body trembling with excitement. He had never imagined that one day he would be able to kiss his master. Nor had he ever realized how wonderful kissing could feel. His master's lips were as tender and sweet as flowers, as soft and fluffy as clouds, as warm and enticing as warm jade, and like exquisite liquor, just a sip could intoxicate. Meanwhile, the master's mind went blank, her sensory perceptions heightened to the extreme, especially the warmth of her lips. As if electrified, currents flowed from her lips throughout her body, giving her an indescribable sensation. It was a mix of helplessness and unbearable shyness. Thump, 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 the master's exquisite body stiffened. One could almost hear her own heartbeat, making her blood flow faster and her cheeks gradually blush. Bang! The master forcefully pushed Lu Changxing away, although it was just for a breath's time. But the sensation on her lips directly struck her soul, leaving her entire body feeling a strange softness, her looks turning from shock to bewilderment to panic to anger. Chapter 1049, Soul Path Dreams, Nascent Soul Divine Sense. Chapter 1049, Chapter 371, Soul Path Dreams, Nascent Soul Divine Sense. Lu Changxing and his mentor were healing in the cave mansion, but because of the earlier commotion, it wasn't long before a demon king arrived. Faced with this situation, the mentor and student could only hide in the vast mountains, fleeing for their lives. In such a life-or-death escape, the bond between the mentor and student deepened continuously. Gradually, the mentor developed unusual feelings for Lu Changxing deep in her heart. It felt like they were no longer mentor and student but rather longtime Taoist friends or perhaps lovers in a flirtatious phase. The mentor constantly suppressed these emotions. But once her mental spirit relaxed, the bits and pieces between them surged towards her like a tide, causing her heart to flutter occasionally when she looked at Lu Changxing. "Mentor, it seems we are going to die here." That day the two were hiding in a narrow cave. Lu Changxing, pale and weak, spoke to his mentor. Coincidentally, the mentor was also quietly watching him. The moment their eyes met, they saw a different expression in each other's pupils, and their hearts throbbed. At that moment, a strong wave of love surged in Lu Changxing's heart. He reached out to embrace his mentor's waist and kissed her deeply towards the place of his dreams. The mentor, faced with such action, wore a look of disbelief and shock. But over the years she knew very well Lu Changxing's feelings for her. Thinking of all the moments they shared together and their current precarious situation, she sighed and let him proceed. Feeling Lu Changxing's domineering gentleness and his hot breath, the mentor's suppressed emotions also burst forth. At this moment, the relationship between mentor and student, as well as moral ethics, all vanished from the mentor's heart. In the cramped and confined cave, a hint of spring subtly spread. However, at the last step, the mentor sobered up from her desires and rejected Lu Changxing's final advance. "I'm sorry, mentor." The atmosphere in the cave turned somewhat awkward for a while. "Heal well." The mentor, her face cold, said so. "Mentor, if we survive and return?" Lu Changxing looked at the mentor in front of him. He could sense that the mentor had not so resolutely resisted him during the process. This indicated that a subtle shift had occurred in their relationship. At this time, if he still behaved solemnly, it would be too hypocritical. So, even at the risk of angering her, he mustered the courage to speak his heart. "We are mentor and student, how can you justify this to Miaoga?" The mentor wanted to respond this way, but as the words came to her lips, she sighed and said, "Heal well." Not long after, the mentor and student were nearly trapped by several demon kings entering a critical situation. Even though the mentor tried healing, she could not awake him. "Mentor, this is truly the last time." At that time, my cultivation technique completion resonated with the active cycle of the lunar cycle reincarnation technique. It could also be due to the influence of the Tai life water technique, causing us to unintentionally enter this soul path dream state. Lu Changxing interrupted Lu Miaoga immediately, signaling that she should not continue. Although it was just a dream, the two of them having the same dream, where he not only rebelled against his master in the dream but where his wife Lu Miaoga was also depicted as his mother, was truly embarrassing for him. The lunar cycle reincarnation technique? Lu Miaoga nodded slightly, also realizing the connection with the lunar cycle reincarnation technique. She was distinctly aware that her soul and divine sense had significantly improved. Moreover, she felt a slight advancement in her understanding and insight into the Great Tao. You're tuning in to the Phantom Sword Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.